Joins us here shortly. Okay.
All right, we're recording. You can start, Robert.
Are we ready, everyone? Okay. Welcome to our December 2nd GMAC meeting, last meeting of the year. We have 5 council members in attendance at the moment. So I guess we're ready to begin. As we have been doing since last month, we acknowledge, I guess, that we have the resolution authorizing our continued use of remote teleconference meetings.
I think we actually have to vote on that at each meeting.
At each meeting? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start out by taking a vote on acknowledging that resolution that we passed last month. Okay. So why don't we start with Kevin?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Robert? Aye. Okay, so we've voted on it and acknowledged it. And then
Was that a motion? I didn't get a motion on that.
it was just a motion. Well, did we actually make an official motion just now?
No, Robert, I'll go ahead and make the motion
Okay,
to adopt the resolution.
which we did last month.
Yeah,
We have to do it each month.
Okay, we'll do it again.
Have to do it.
Okay, can we have a second on that motion of Kevin's?
Yeah,
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Don seconds that. You got that, Mary? Okay,
Yes.
we'll vote again. Kevin,
aye.
Don,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Robert, aye. Okay, any introductions and announcements? I was hearing some names. Maybe we want to go through who's attending. Anybody new that we don't know of, Tom, or did we just do
We
that?
have several members of the community here tonight. I'm glad to see them. We have our new CHP commander, David Dyke, is here, and he'll be speaking during our law enforcement section.
Okay.
We have the sheriff, and we have JD Comer from the Sheriff's Department. And we just learned we have Travis Kilmer, who I won't try that title, Travis, but basically is in charge of planning for emergencies and recovering from emergencies here in Mendocino County. And it's our first time visitor here. Ashley Smith from AT&T is just joining. And I see
Okay.
another call from Sacramento area, or the 925. I think that's probably Melissa.
Might be
checking in.
Melissa, yeah.
Yeah.
That's me.
Oh, great. Melissa.
Okay, gang's all here. Melissa, we just voted on the resolution, but that's all you've missed.
What resolution?
The to hold the teleconference.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't get her vote, but we acknowledge that we have to continue to hold our meetings remotely, Melissa.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we went on to the introductions and announcements. Do we have any announcements tonight? Mary, anybody else?
There were 3 pieces of correspondence that you need to amend the agenda with, so.
Okay, when we get to that, great,
Yes,
thanks.
sir.
Okay, consent agenda. Approval of the November minutes. Any last minute, last second changes? Or can we make a motion on approving those November 4th meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Kevin seconds. Okay, let's take a vote on that. Melissa,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and Robert. Aye. Okay, so we have a unanimous approval of the November 4th meeting minutes. Correspondence. What were you referring to, Mary, under new correspondence?
The MCN statement, the annual website and domain host fees for $179.40. The Caltrans letter to Mr. Murphy and their accommodation that was attached, which I'm sure he will report on at his report. and the emails regarding AT&T Anderson cell tower that Mr. Hess sent to everyone, 9 pages on those emails. And I thank you very much, Mr. Hess, for sending that.
No problem, Mary.
And those are the 3 pieces of correspondence of which I am aware. If anyone else has any other correspondence, I'd be glad to add that to the agenda.
I will note for the record that I'm going to check on the numbers, but there were a great number of comments on the Gualala Trading Post and the Point Arena webpage about this topic of the tower tonight. And I'll give you a number on those later when we discuss it. But they were not messages to the council. They were just comments in public.
That's true. I did receive some correspondence too from the county, and it regards number 8 on our agenda. So under our next agenda item, 3C, I'll be asking for a change in our agenda, okay? Based upon that correspondence.
And what was the correspondence was from whom?
From the staff planner for that item.
Oh, the county staff planner. Thank you.
Yep. So any other correspondence from anyone? Okay, let's move on to 3C, approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda as it's written, other than the one I'm going to present?
Well, the other 3 changes that I mentioned.
Well, those were correspondence items only.
Right, but the
Okay,
municipal
okay.
staff
there are-
planner regarding DeWolf would also be correspondence to you, would it not?
I didn't get any respondents on the Wolf, no.
Oh, well, the county staff planner, I assumed it was DeWolf.
It was number 8. Okay, let me make that proposal here. The planner contacted me on and said he had seen the agenda for GMAC's meeting. This was earlier in the week. And
Yes.
there is they're putting that on hold, so they didn't want to necessarily see us walk or see that revised request on that CD PM item, okay?
Yes, that's Duffeld.
Right.
Duffield.
So I propose we put that on hold as he has requested, the county planner, and we table it for a later date.
Why don't we just delete it from the agenda tonight?
For tonight, yes, we'll delete it. So
Okay,
that's the change in the agenda, you guys.
Right.
thank you.
Any other changes other than the ones that Mary wants to put under correspondence? Okay, then let's have a motion on approving tonight's December 2nd agenda.
Move to approve.
Okay, thanks, Tom. A second? Anybody? No? Second the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Let's take a voice vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and Robert. Aye. So we've approved tonight's amended agenda. Next, do we have any public input on non-agenda items? I know we've got a lot of people here for agenda items tonight, but anything not on the agenda that anybody would want to comment on? Don't hear any, don't see any, okay. So then we'll go on to our law enforcement report that we look forward to every month. Is Sheriff Matt Kendall here tonight?
I am. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm kind of, I'm dressed a little odd this evening. We've got some young folks who are guests of mine over in the jail. And a lot of these young men have decided that they wanted to be beekeepers. And so they've been studying very hard. And we've got a few beehives, and I go out there occasionally with them because I keep bees. And we all work on the beehives together. So tonight was one of those nights, and I'm happy to report that we have 2 honey supers with about 80 pounds of honey in them. And so it was a pretty sweet afternoon for myself and those fellows that are staying with me.
Literally.
Yeah, you know, it's fun because when we go out there, especially when we've got one of those supers that's just dripping with honey. They can't wait to get their gloves off and do a little taste test. And I'm pretty guilty of that myself. I'm going to ask Lieutenant Comer to do a real quick report out on some of the things that we've been battling. And we've been doing a pretty good job with solving a lot of crimes. Then I want to come back in and we need to talk about a few things to harden targets during this holiday season and some of the work that we have to be doing, excuse me, specifically with package thefts, mail thefts, and things like that. And so, JD, if I could ask you to jump in.
Yes, sir. So for the last 30 days, call volume has been fairly low for the Gualala area. We've had 22 calls for service. Really nothing major. The majority would relate to trespass calls. We had a couple theft calls, and we had one report of a burglary. Out of those, 3 investigative reports were taken. We had 1 arrest for a domestic violence situation, and but overall, fairly low call volume. I want to throw out the burglary report that we took. We have really no investigative leads on that, but that occurred sometime between November 12th and November 15th. It occurred in the 34,000 block of Iversen Road, which is near the intersection there of Fish Rock Road. And what was taken was a brand new Suzuki Van. And if you don't know what that is, it's a motorcycle. It's kind of a retro style looking motorcycle. It is utilized both on and off road. But it is gray with a brown seat. And it was stored inside of a locked container. So again, we have no leads on that. There were other items taken, such as tools and other car parts. But if anybody has any information on that in the community or anything that we could follow up on, it'd be much appreciated to pass that on. And at the same time, I'm going to kind of discuss an anonymous tip line that could be used. I don't think I've discussed this in the past on GMAC, but if you go to wetip.com, and that's WETIP, anybody can report anonymously any information that they would want to forward to the sheriff's office. And that's done, basically, we receive that by email. So whatever you write on that WeTip website, it gets forwarded to us and we can evaluate it and follow up with that as is fitting. When you do go to WeTip, though, it'll ask you to select a city, and Gualala, Point Arena, Anchor Bay, you know, those areas aren't on the city list, but there's an option to add a new city. And you just click that option and type in the city and we'll know exactly kind of where that's at. And then last for you, I have a reminder to, again, you know, all the community out there is please call and report suspicious and criminal activity. We had 2 instances this last month that were not reported to us that were found out later just by talking to members of the community. One was a prowling situation where somebody was caught on somebody's property, possibly getting ready to break in. Another was a vandalism that occurred. And those, well, one was not reported to us. The other one was reported to us about 24 hours later. And again, just as another reminder, timing is everything. The quicker that stuff's reported to us, the better chances we have to investigate and act and follow up accordingly with those types of cases. So, and then one more is just another reminder is if you call the sheriff's office to report a crime that you're a victim of, and we respond and conduct an investigation, it's very, very helpful. I mean, we're going to respond regardless and do our job, but it's very, very helpful that if you're a victim, there's the latter part of that investigation when it goes to court, and being a victim might require you to seek prosecution and work with the DA's office. If that doesn't happen, it's really almost turns into a waste of time. We have that information maybe of what occurred and what was investigated, but there's that latter portion. So just a reminder on that as well, especially when it comes to misdemeanor crimes that are not committed in our presence. That's going to require somebody to want to prosecute that individual or press charges on them. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Cromer. As we enter the holiday season, we're going to begin to see more mail theft, more package theft, things like that that go on. And normally these things are committed by crews. Last year, Lieutenant Comer dealt with a crew that came all the way down from Sebastopol out to Willits, out Highway 20, and all the way up Highway 1. These folks are not from our area. They make a great big roaming circuit of these rural mailboxes. So please do me a favor. If you're going to be gone, have someone pick up your mail on a daily basis, or have the post office, hold your mail until such time that you get back. And it's not the packages that are taken that are, and don't get me wrong, that's a terrible thing. What it is are the personal identifying information that they are taking and is being sold on the dark web. And that's where identity theft starts. So when they take your mail, it's not the Amazon package that's worth $50 that they're looking for. It's the medical information that came from your hospital or your doctor bill or something like that. It's now they have your name, they have your personal address. They need very little more to steal your identity. And it is probably the fastest growing crime in the United States right now. People are being taken on a daily basis. Now is the time of year where there's going to be a lot of telephone solicitation. The sheriff's office does not solicit over the telephone. If someone calls and they are trying to solicit you over the telephone, it will not be the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. So please understand that is not us. If they say that they are the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, that is not true. Okay. Just a couple of other little housekeeping things. The roads are getting wet. We are having a real shortage on ambulances because of the increased calls for service and things like that. We need to all stay on top of looking out for each other, making sure that we drive safely, and let's have a real safe holiday season. Hopefully we'll get some more rain. That first storm that came in, it was absolutely wonderful. We need a lot more. So, but with rain comes a lot of dangerous things. And then Lieutenant and I would be happy to answer any questions that you folks have.
So feel free to ask. Can't think of anything at the moment.
No.
Anybody else?
Oh, I've got just a little bit more to throw in. We've got some new hires that we've been picking up. The Board of Supervisors gave us a really big bonus for a South Coast resident. I'm hoping that sometime in the next few months, some of these folks will be off training, and we're probably going to have a couple who want to go to the South Coast. So Round Valley and the South Coast are the two areas where I absolutely need resident deputies, because that deals directly with response times. I would love to have a resident deputy in Boonville, but I have about a 12-minute response on average. I wish that I could respond to the South Coast, and so does Lieutenant Comer. Growing up on the South Coast, trust me, he knows the drive like the back of his hand. JD, what are our response times looking at for the month? Most of mine, I've been looking at about 37 minutes, somewhere right in that area. Sometimes they're a little closer if we're down towards Albion. Sometimes they're a little longer, but roughly 37. What do you have, JD?
Yeah, the normal drive time with good traffic from Fort Bragg to Point Arena could be about 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah. So we're going to try to get those response times down by getting some residents in those areas. And then we adjust schedules from time to time to make sure that whatever is going on, we're meeting the needs in those moments. Now, the entire state of California is in a great big bidding war for police officers right now. Every agency. I've spoken with sheriffs all over the state. Everybody's running 35 to 45% down, and it is a seller's market. And so Mendocino County is a beautiful place to be. Our officers, our deputies, we have overwhelming support from all of the communities, and I appreciate that. And that has been a selling point for a lot of the young folks that we're hiring right now. They come to these communities, they're treated well, people appreciate them, and it shows. So let's continue to support each other. And, hopefully by, this time next year, we will be full to the brim with deputy sheriffs, and we can have some of our resident posts completely full. That's what I'm going to be hoping for. That's what I'm asking for Santa for Christmas this year. And every time one of those folks shows up and knocks on my door and says, I'd really like to apply for you, but I only want to go to the coast, I pretend like, oh, boy, that's going to be a tough sell. But it's not a tough sell. Those folks, when they go to the coast, they stay forever. It's just beautiful. It's a wonderful place to be. Anyway, if you don't have any more questions for us, I've got just a little bit of work left to do on my computer. And it was great seeing you folks. Still looking forward to when we can get together in person.
Right on.
Hopefully that'll be sometime soon.
Okay, have a good December.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays,
Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you,
JD.
Lieutenant.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
JD.
Lieutenant.
Happy holidays to you,
Thanks,
sir.
Matt.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Is the other gentleman around still?
He
David Dyke?
is.
He
Is he
is.
on?
He's
He
he's
is.
on.
Oh,
Stay
good.
well out there, gentlemen. Stay well.
So,
Yeah, David Dyke's here.
welcome.
Thank you.
Hi there. There we get to see him. Okay.
All right. Well, I don't really have a whole lot to report. I'm kind of new, so I'm in the meeting just kind of see what's going on, and maybe I can bring you guys some more information later for the next meeting. I heard I was referred to as the commander. I'm definitely not the commander. We actually have the resident post for Point Arena and for Fort Bragg, and that's the resident post from the Ukiah office. So our commander is actually out of Ukiah, and he's the captain. And we actually just got a new captain November 2nd, and that's Captain Willie Nagu. So I newly promoted into Fort Bragg as a sergeant September 1st. And we've got some relatively new officers out here in this area. They've all got about 3 years on. They're real proactive, so they're young. They like to get out and work, so that's a real good bonus. The only thing is, just like other agencies, we are shorthanded. We're already down one position, and for a resident post, that's it takes a hit when you only have the minimum amount to begin with. So we're down to 5, and we just got word that one of our officers they're going to leave and move out of state. So we're going to be down to 4. And hopefully we can get someone to transfer in or a new hire from the academy. So we'll find out hopefully pretty soon on that. I like what the sheriff said about the roadways and it being wet out there, and just like to remind you guys to do your part and drive safe. We have had a handful of DUI related traffic collisions, and a lot of them are down in the Gualala area. So I would also like to encourage, if you think you're following a DUI driver or see a driver or a subject that might get into a car and drive away that's been drinking, please call us and let us know so we can try to respond and get down there and handle that. So I had a fact sheet here, and I closed it out, but I'd like to find it real quick. If you guys have a second, I was looking at something else. Bear with me for 1 second.
How should we refer to you if you're not the commander?
The sergeant is fine.
Sergeant, okay.
Yeah. So in 2018 for statewide, I don't have a fact sheet for our area. Maybe I can get that later, but in 2018 statewide, there were 3,804 victims killed in crashes. Out of those 3,804, 816 people were killed in crashes where the primary collision factor involved DUI. So 816 fatalities, that's a pretty high number. So, and that doesn't obviously include the DUI crashes where people are seriously hurt. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys, and I'd like to open up if you guys have any questions, or if I don't have an answer, maybe I can bring it to the next meeting.
Hey,
So-
Dave, what would be a good way for the council or community to get in touch with you as far as sharing information or if they got questions?
My email would work best because I actually get my email notifications on my phone. So if they email me at my work email, I can call them back even if I'm on my time off. And if you guys want to report something, you can. If it's not an emergency, you can always email me like, "Hey, can we get some more enforcement in this location or something like that?" You can always feel free to email me, and I'll give that out right now if you guys are ready to write it down.
Uh-huh.
So it's my first initial for D. So it's D and then my last name, Dyke, DYKE is my last name. So it's D Dyke at chp.ca.gov.
Okay.
And once an email is sent to me, it pops up within a matter of a minute. So I can see that comes across.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, if you want to, if you don't have email, you can call the Ukiah office, leave a voicemail for me there, a message, and they can get a hold of me that way too. Any other questions?
No.
Well, it was nice meeting you guys tonight at the meeting and getting to know everybody a little bit. And I look forward to the future meetings and appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry I couldn't make it sooner. Been pretty busy. So
David,
Thank you.
where did you come from? Did you were you from Mendocino County or?
actually, we had made Crescent City our home for the last 8 to 9 years. We really love the coast. We moved down to Placer County to put our kids into a private school there, the Christian school. So that's where we currently live, is in Grass Valley. So we're doing that. And then I had worked at internal affairs for about a year and a half before I came here. So I promoted out of there into Fort Bragg.
Okay. Well, welcome to Mendocino County.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
welcome
love
to the coast.
I love the coast. You guys have a beautiful area. And don't take it for granted.
Okay.
Thanks for being here, Sergeant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you,
We'd really
Sergeant.
like to see you and your men down here on the coast and on Highway 1. It's really good to see you out here and doing what you do. Please stay safe and go
Thank
well.
you. I've tried to make it down there myself when I can. We did have an officer, you guys are probably familiar with him, Officer Avila, transferred in recently. He loves going down there. You'll probably see him down there quite a bit. So he just got back from some vacation. So in fact, he's probably down there tonight. So yeah.
All
Thank you.
right.
Right,
Thank
thanks
you.
a lot. Thanks a
Yep.
lot, David. Okay. Let's move on to our permit applications. We have 2 continued permit applications this evening. And our first one is the CDP 2021-0006 Anderson. And that has to do with the proposed cell tower up on the Anderson property. So tonight we have a couple of representatives from, the name of your company is again, Wireless, oh gosh, I had it here. Ashley, and who else is here with you, Ashley, tonight?
Also, Donna Davis. She is external affairs with AT&T Mobility.
Okay.
And I work on behalf of Epic Wireless.
Epic Wireless, that's it. There we go. Okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
It was on the tip of your tongue, I know it.
So the 2 of you are here on behalf of that CDP. We have primarily Don Hess as the council member that's primarily taking on this CDP along with Melissa, I think, to a certain degree. So maybe we should be brought up to speed, maybe from the applicant first. Ashley? Anything new other than what you've been sending us lately?
Yeah, so I'm not too certain whom from the GMAC Council was able to be on the property or in Gualala on this last Monday, but we did have a vendor conduct a balloon flight. So what they did is they extended a balloon to the height of the tower, so 120 feet, and it was flown for, I believe, approximately 6 hours on the property. And that was in order to show from various viewpoints in Gualala, if you could see the balloon through the foliage in the tree coverage in that area, and just from the surrounding areas. So that was conducted on Monday, as well as additional photo simulations. Those were all sent to Don Huss. Those photo simulations included additional photos from, I think it's Gualala Point Regional Park, as well as downtown Gualala. And they also included photo simulations that showed what the existing tower, the telespan tower, would look like, as well as what our proposed tower looks like.
Okay. Yeah, some of us, or many of us, maybe even saw those balloons because we had to drive all the way up there to Country Club Way to see them. But
Yep.
so aesthetically, we're not really, I don't think any of us are too concerned about it from that perspective. Anybody else have any questions of Ashley at the moment before we start our series of questions, or Don probably has a presentation he'd like to make?
Yeah, well,
Robert,
I was just going to,
Oh,
Go ahead.
Don?
yeah, as long as we, at some point, allow me to list these 10 questions that I'd like
Okay.
both Ashley and Donna to address. And I don't know if we should do that right now, or do you want to wait a little bit?
I heard somebody else speaking up there. Was that Kevin?
yeah, I just had a question for Ashley or Donna. How big were those balloons?
You know, I am not too certain how big they were, but I do know I received a photo, and you can see the balloon in it, and he's downtown. So it must have been a fairly large balloon.
Okay, yeah, I was just
I
curious.
can speak to that. I drove up to Country Club, and they look like large party balloons. I would say they were about this big. It was not what I was looking for. I was looking for, weather balloon. It was not like that. There were two red balloons up there. So. there you go.
Tom, is there any way we can share, or Don, is there any way we can share the screen with that photo that the property owners?
I don't recall getting that particular photo. Was that a
I
photo
I
of the
think I can
balloons?
pull it off. I think I can pull it off Facebook. Give me a few
Oh.
minutes to do that, and I'll put it up when I can.
Okay, because that would show us relatively how big the balloons were. But maybe we should have Don give his presentation, his list of questions for Ashley. Would that be appropriate this time?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay. Go ahead, Don. You got the
Okay, well,
floor.
I'm gonna share screen here. Let's see. Okay, here we are. Everybody can see that?
Yes.
Well, do you see the list of questions? I'm not
No,
sure.
that's the cover page of the CDP.
Okay, let me get back here. Got to share something different here. Just hold on a second.
Okay.
Everybody see that list of questions?
Yeah, 1 through 7.
Yeah, there's more.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, I want to make sure the public understands that, what we're doing here is advising the Planning Commission. We don't have the final say in this matter, but we do have some input. And so that's what, we're providing, is some input to the Planning Commission. And so I'd like to just to put on the record these questions that I did send to Ashley, so she had them ahead of time to consider. So first, and some of these questions really come out of the previous two, council meetings that we've had, where Ashley was in attendance, and where some of these issues came up. But we wanted to sort of get them on paper and then make sure we got responses to these specific questions. Number one, will AT&T allow other providers, Verizon, T-Mobile, et cetera, to mount their antenna on this tower, or would the tower always be a dedicated AT&T tower? And I'm going to go through all 10 questions, and then Ashley and Donna, you can address them, okay? 2, why is AT&T not proposing any sort of camouflage for this tower? Could camouflage be added to it? And if not, why not? 3, can you provide additional photo simulations that accurately depict whether or not the tower will be visible from various locations, including points along Old Stage Road, Ocean Ridge Drive, downtown Gualala, and from Gualala Point Regional Park? You have done that, and we'll be able to show those simulations. 4, as opposed to erecting a 120-foot tall tower, is it feasible to mount multiple smaller antenna throughout the community, such as is done in urban areas? And could these distributed antenna host additional providers other than just AT&T? 5, will this new proposed tower improve service in areas of downtown Gualala that currently suffer from poor or no service? For example, post office, community center, etc. 6, can you provide an extended coverage map that shows how far north coverage will be provided? Would the coverage go as far north as Iversen Road? I believe you have it provided an additional coverage map for us with the roads enabled or visible. And so we should be able to show that as well. 7, can you provide accurate information on how many households currently suffering from poor or no service potentially will gain fully functional cell service with this tower in place? 8, is AT&T willing to make an effort to inform area residents of this project within, say, at least a half-mile radius? This notice ideally would be sent out ASAP this month. 9, will this tower provide internet service to areas that are not currently serviced by other providers, specifically Further Reach and Sky Fiber? And what internet service features does AT&T offer that might convince customers to switch from their existing service provider? And lastly, in a landmark decision last August, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia ruled that the FCC must revisit its position that, in effect, no change to its 1996 guidelines related to cellular RF radiation is necessary. The court stated the commission failed to provide a reasoned explanation for its determination that its guidelines adequately protect against the harmful effects of exposure to radio frequency radiation unrelated to cancer. The FCC, therefore, is now being required under court order to come up with a plausible explanation for not changing its 25-year-old guidelines one iota, established 11 years prior to the introduction of the iPhone, by the way, which the commission failed to do in court, hence it lost the case, or presumably to proceed with updating its guidelines, taking into consideration modern studies related to potential RF radiation risks. Given this situation and the real possibility of the FCC establishing new guidelines at some point, we are asking AT&T to share any information it has related to RF radiation health risks associated with its cell towers. Furthermore, will AT&T fully comply in a timely manner with any new FCC guidelines aimed potentially at mitigating RF radiation risks? And at the bottom there, I do have a a web link to the actual court opinion. Now, bear in mind, I think I can say that we do understand that we can't really deny a permit for a cell tower based on suspected RF radiation. And that's because of the 1996 guidelines that are still in place. Nevertheless, we feel it is a topic that not only some of us here on the council, but also a number of residents in Gualala are concerned about. So with that, now you could proceed to, provide us with some answers if you'd like. We also have some email from citizens, and I have some excerpts from those emails that I could read as well, with some questions that they have about the cell tower. But maybe first, it would be best if Ashley, you and Donna addressed these 10 questions.
Could you also send me that list for the record, please, Mr. Hess?
This list of questions, of course.
Yes, sir, please.
And I think we should start back up at the top, don't you, Don?
Yeah,
Okay, and as Don stated earlier, our position on GMAC is to advise and recommend. Okay, so again, keep that in mind. So you have the floor, Ashley and or Donna.
Perfect. Thank you, Robert.
Okay,
So starting off at the first question, will AT&T allow other providers? So AT&T's tower is able to co-locate an additional 3 carriers onto this tower. So that means Verizon, T-Mobile, and one additional carrier, if there was one, would be able to co-locate on this tower. So it is not dedicated an AT&T tower. It is able to host other providers, and AT&T works very well with these other providers. The second question, why is AT&T not proposing any sort of camouflage for this tower? As was seen on Monday with the balloon flight, it's not really seen from the surrounding areas. Therefore, a camouflage tower was not proposed. We felt like the surrounding trees, was enough camouflage for this tower. Number 3, can you provide additional photo simulations? So those were sent over. After I go through this list, I can share my screen to show those if that would be helpful. I'm not sure if everyone from the GMAC has those photo simulations.
okay, that would
Number
be
4, yeah, perfect.
okay.
As opposed to erecting a 120-foot tall tower, is it feasible to mount smaller antenna throughout the community? So what's done in urban areas is known as small cells, and small cells would not allow us to have the coverage that AT&T is proposing for this area in Gualala, so it wouldn't meet AT&T's objectives for this project. Additionally, we would not be able to mount the antenna that's dedicated to the wireless loop, the internet project, on those towers. That it would be light towers or traffic lights that these small antennas would be placed on. So it wouldn't be feasible because we'd be losing out on that internet project as well. So that is why we did propose a 120-foot tall tower. Number 5, will this new proposed tower improve service in areas of downtown Gualala? So it was shown as post office in the community center. And after looking at the propagation maps that we did receive from AT&T's radio frequency engineers, it does show that currently, possibly from that telespan tower, that there is service or some sort of service in that area. And this tower will not be providing any additional service in that area. And that's just due to the terrain in between downtown Gualala and where the tower is located. Number 6, can you provide an extended coverage map that shows how far north coverage will be provided? After I show the photo simulations, I will also go ahead and show that propagation map as well. It is zoomed out. It does show the additional addresses and street names. Number 7, can you provide accurate information on how many households currently serving from ports or no service will gain full function? So we can't quantify those that will switch from a different provider such as Verizon to AT&T. So we can't quantify how many people will actually be using the service once AT&T is on site. However, after viewing the propagation map, it appears to be approximately 4 miles of users from, I believe it's Trailhead Road to almost to Iversen Road that will be provided either improved service or service because they did not have service in that area at all. And it's also extending east off of Old Stage Road. And number 8, is AT&T willing to make an effort to inform area residents of this project? This is for noticing. So since we do work with Mendocino County fairly frequently with these projects, we want to make sure that moving forward that we are consistent, and therefore we are following Mendocino code, and that is Mendocino sending out notices 10 days prior to the PC hearing. So we will follow their code as is. Number 9, will this tower provide internet service to areas that are not currently serviced by other providers? So AT&T, as well as our office, we can't really speak on what other providers are currently serving or where they're not currently serving. So we can't really speak regarding reach or Sky Fiber. But as far as internet service features that AT&T does offer, so if you have AT&T as cell coverage or a cell phone, you can also bundle with their internet, and it's $69 per month as a bundle, or excuse me, $59 per month as a bundled package. Or if you do not have a cell phone with AT&T as your provider, it would be $69.99 as a standalone service. Their speeds are a minimum of 10 megabytes per second to download and 1 megabyte per second for upload, and most customers can see around 25 megabytes per second for download. Number 10, on a landmark decision, excuse me. Furthermore, will AT&T fully comply in a timely manner with any new FCC guidelines? AT&T has to comply with any federal compliance guidelines, especially with the RF radiation risk, and they'll comply with all existing as well as any updated guidelines in the future. So AT&T would fully comply at any time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Um,
Are there any questions regarding what I went over?
Yeah, I have a question.
Who was speaking? I'm sorry, was that Ashley or was
Yes.
that Donna?
That was Ashley.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I didn't catch the name.
Okay, Ashley, you said that you could co-locate other providers' antennas on top of that tower. Do you actually have plans to do that? And the reason I think that is important is because this tower, I think, would be much more useful to the community if on that tower were antennas for different providers. If it's just AT&T, then I think it's much less useful. So I'm hoping you in fact do have plans to co-locate other providers, if this project goes through.
Yep. So with the tower height at 120, we're able to provide 4 carriers total on this tower. That's again 3 additional carriers. Our office only works with AT&T Mobility, so we do the planning and the building, get those approvals for AT&T, and then after that, I believe a different department, possibly with AT&T. My scout for Verizon, I'm not too sure how that works, or if it's another vendor, or maybe another vendor doing what my office does, where we find a location for AT&T to co-locate their antennas, which sometimes is a Verizon tower or a T-Mobile tower. That's most likely what will happen if everyone switches over to AT&T. Verizon might get a little heads up, we're losing service in this area. A lot of people are switching to AT&T. We need our antennas in that area. And I think that's normally what happens. So
Yeah,
if anything, oh, thanks, Donna.
sorry, Ashley. Yeah, hi, this is Donna with AT&T. So we would make that those spaces available, and if the carrier would desire to be co-located there, we would work with them to reach an agreement for that. So we can't really speak prospectively to what another provider might be aiming to do in that territory, or whether or not they have coverage from other sites or what's planned, but we would definitely make that option available. And that really happens after we get permitted, right? So we haven't gone to the Planning Commission for permitting on this, so really can't start to talk about negotiations with anybody until we actually have a permitted site.
Okay, but are you actually required to co-locate other providers' antennas or not? It's just your choice.
In this case, as part of the program, yes, we are. So there is a requirement, and that space is available, like Ashley said, to support additional carriers should they choose to use it. We can't,
Okay, so-
make them obviously go in there, but yeah, we are required.
Okay, fine.
At 120 feet high, the cell tower, would it provide other carriers with the same amount of coverage as you've been showing us in the coverage maps?
We really wouldn't speak
They
to the
might-
coverage for other carriers, right? So obviously, we would be first on the tower taking, I would assume, Ashley, the highest radio center location on that tower,
Yeah.
because we're building the tower. And so coverage objectives under the carrier would be at radio centers that are along lower down on the pole. So on the tower, it really depends on what their objectives are. I can't speak to their equipment and how they propagate. So, we wouldn't be able to speak to that.
Okay.
And are these antennas that you're putting up 5G capable?
Currently, they are not. We are 4G right now with the wireless loop, but as technology changes, AT&T could update their equipment at a later time.
Yeah, for 5G to work correctly, wouldn't you need a denser number of antenna throughout the area?
It would likely, in these rural situations, be a low band or mid band, not the millimeter wave that you're thinking about with respect to like a small cell. So it's a different frequency level for the 5G coverage that would be in a rural area. It would be low band.
Was there any advantage or disadvantage to that?
As opposed to, I guess I'm not following your question.
Well, you said it's gonna be a lower band or mid band as opposed to a high band, right? So.
Right,
that's
so
what
you
I'm
wouldn't
asking.
see, yeah, the speed difference wouldn't be the same as what you're talking about with small cells in those denser urban situations with the millimeter wave. That's using an incredible speed upgrade for data on those small cells at the millimeter wave. So it is different technology. It just gives us the ability to use the new programming and ways to use the available spectrum that's out there. So it's really more related to coverage and capacity.
Okay, so
not speed.
basically what you're proposing then is fundamentally a 4G network system, correct?
Yeah, LTE.
LTE, yeah. Okay, that's fine. Any other council members have any questions?
Yeah, I wasn't clear. Is AT&T located on the Sea Ranch Moonraker tower?
Excuse me, if that's a telespan tower, we are on that tower, but I believe last time we were talking about a Sea Ranch and it was different than the tower, the telespan tower.
So you're not located on that tower down at the Sea Ranch? That's 10 miles south of Gualala, up on the mountain, up on the ridge?
I don't know the answer to that
Yeah.
at this point. I mean, we can find out and get back to you. Definitely happy to get that question answered for you. I think today we're really trying to stay on track with
Yeah, I
relation
know,
to
but
this site, if we can talk about it.
Sure. It ties in with, you were so kind to send us the coverage maps for the proposed tower that Epic Wireless has and show us the AT&T coverage of the Big Gulch Tower. I wasn't clear on whether or not AT&T was on the Moonraker Tower, which I believe Verizon is on and provides service into the downtown Gualala area. If AT&T were on the tower in the Sea Ranch, would it not also provide good service into the Gualala area?
No, I'd hate to speculate on what our coverage would be. That would be a question that we would want to take back to our RAN engineers for you. To figure out if we are located on that site, and then if we are, we could look at what that coverage does deliver, because that's going to be, quite a bit south, right? So that coverage, I don't know if it would reach there. We could find out for you.
Okay, because I
if
would like
we're
to know.
located there.
I would like to know the coverage from, if you are on that tower, I would like to see an additional coverage map. If you're on that tower at the Sea Ranch Moonraker location, okay? I would like to see how those 3 coverage maps tie together.
Yeah, I would suspect that, given how these sites are and where the coverage is here, that I don't suspect there would be a tremendous amount of overlap given the distance if you're talking about 10 miles away. But we can check it out. I don't know. I honestly don't know if we're on that other site or not. So I'd hate to speculate.
Okay. Back to you, Don.
Yeah, before Ashley shows us her latest rendition of a coverage map, I want to share with you a little bit of testing that I did today, and I think Tom did some as well earlier. But let's see. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes, I can.
Cell signal strength testing. All right, so I started, at Gualala Court, which is towards the south end of Old Stage Road. And there I was getting 2 bars. I could surf the internet fine. And then Moonrise Drive, I was surprised that even at the end of Moonrise Drive, way down the hill a little ways, I still getting 2 bars. Pacific Woods, now this is true at my house too, which is about halfway up. I get 2 bars. And at the intersection of Old Stage Road, I got 2 bars. So we're fine. Ocean, now here, then it started to slow down the connection speed and the number of bars that I was getting. Ocean Ridge Drive, right at the intersection of Old Stage Road, dropped down to 1 bar. Ocean View Lane, which I think is not far from Country Club, is it, Robert?
Correct. It's just a little bit south on
Yeah.
Ocean Ridge Drive.
So I tested there, both at the start of Ocean View Lane at the intersection with Ocean Ridge and at the end of that little street. It's not very long, and 1 bar each location. Airport Tarmac, I got 2 bars there. Seaside School Road, heading north, 1 bar. Tan Bark Road, 1 bar. Fish Rock Road, 1 bar. Bower Park at the parking lot coming back, I got 2 bars. It does look like, as you head, sort of a general take is that as you head north, the coverage degrades. So the question to ask, of course, is, well, with this tower, would we get better coverage heading north on Old Stage Road? Because there are a number of people that live along Old Stage Road. Correct, Robert?
Oh, yeah, quite a few. You didn't go as far as Iversen Road, though, did you?
No, I did not. I felt that was
Yeah.
by far enough. Fish Rock.
So you turn around at Fish Rock, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Ashley, do you want to share now?
Yes, of course. Let me switch over 1 moment. So I'll start off with the photo simulation. Let me know if you see it on my screen. Should be a map of the Gualala coastline.
Mhm.
Okay, we see that.
Perfect. So these are the various points where our vendor took their photos. So the first point is directly at our property owner's driveway. So as you can see, the tower, 120 foot. You can see it visually from the driveway. Go back to the first page. The second location, it looks like it's close to possibly downtown or the Cove Bar and Grill. Here, one moment, let me switch over. I apologize. It looks like my Adobe doesn't want to work. Oh, maybe it's working now. Okay.
Well, if you're having problems, I can display it, Ashley.
Okay. Looks like it's starting to work now. Hopefully. Let me know when you see the screen again. My apologies.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect.
Mhm.
So
Good.
again, the second location looks like it's up the view from Shoreline Highway, looking north at the site. And from this location, AT&T's install is not visible. The third location is going to be off of Old Stage Road, looking towards the proposed facility.
Power Park, yes.
So Old Stage Road, looking southwest at the site, again, not visible due to the terrain as well as the surrounding trees. The fourth photo, and we actually had two located right here, same location. It's off of Highway 1. So the first one was when the telephone tower was not there. It was not yet constructed. So AT&T's install is not visible. Go down to the next photo. Again, AT&T is not visible. So you can see the telespan right in this area, right here. That's the existing telespan tower. So existing telespan, and then AT&T is not visible. The fifth photo from this location, possibly close to the black door. This is the existing telespan tower. And the next to ours, you zoom in, you can see the tip of the tower with AT&T's antennas. And this is the existing telespan. The sixth location is down closer to Old Stage Road by the Gualala supermarket. As you can see in this depiction, AT&T is also not visible at the Gualala Hotel. And the last location, this was the Gualala Point Regional Park. So the existing install is about right here. So it's in this location on this photo, and AT&T, again, is not visible at this location. Does anyone have any questions regarding the photo simulation?
Nope.
It looks like for the most part, you're not even going to be able to see it. unless you're perhaps one of the really close neighbors. You know, on Country Club,
Mhm.
they might be able to see it.
Let me, yeah, off the driveway, you can definitely see the tower. There is a shot off of the Old Stage
It doesn't-
Road, but with the true coverage, you can't really see.
Okay, you're doing the coverage now, fine.
Mhm. Yeah. And then this is the updated coverage map that I had sent over. So it now clearly depicts the road names. Mhm. And again, the red dot is our proposed site for Gualala, and the black dot is the existing site. So on this page, you can see all the existing service that is from the existing site. I believe that the post office and the community center was off of Center Street, about right here.
Right.
So it's really close currently, and also what we're proposing in that yellow and that blue. So it is, indoor coverage is less reliable. But it does show reliable coverage is outdoors only. So might get a few bars there, I'm not too certain. But if you look at what is existing versus what is proposed, the service goes from Bundy Tree, if you go directly east from it, and then up Old Stage Road to the east and the west of it, you're going to be obtaining better service and better coverage from AT&T up in those areas, both reliable service indoors and outdoors along Old Stage Road, as well as reliable coverage in transit, indoor coverage less reliable, and then also the coverage outdoors only. I believe Iversen Road is this road depicted up at the top.
That's Fish Rock.
Fish Rock.
That's Fish Rock.
The Fish Rock will receive reliable coverage outdoors. Indoor coverage is less reliable. And those are the locations. I believe it's about, excuse me. I believe it's about a 4-mile drive from that Bundy Tree up to that Fish Rock. And that's what would be provided more coverage. Excuse me, sorry.
Now, when you say indoor, for example, the yellow areas, indoor coverage less reliable, does that mean 1 bar or something?
Excuse me. I'm not too sure as far as what the propagation map looks like in regards to how many bars are being serviced. But I know that this area would be provided more service and, substantial coverage as far as indoors in this area, in this community.
But initially only to AT&T customers, unless some other providers co-locate with you.
That's correct.
Can those maps be shown side by side?
Let's see what I can do.
I had a question on what are POPSs?
POP,
I guess, yeah.
that could be population.
Uh-huh.
Okay, are you able to see both screens?
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
better. That's nice.
So as you can see off of, looks like on this area, they're getting a little bit more coverage, and then up Substation Road to the east up to Old Stage Road is getting reliable service indoors and outdoors. And then again, off of Old Stage Road going north, you're getting reliable coverage in transit and reliable coverage outdoors only. And once you get closer to Fish Rock Road.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, as we thought, it does help the Old Stage Road area further.
Mhm. And then it also gets these areas depicted over here. Appears that they had very little service. So, you know,
Yeah,
the terrain right here, they're not going to get anything, unfortunately, from the service. And I'm not too sure if there's a big community over here. However, they would get more service than they currently have.
That's
That's
primarily
forest land.
timberlands. Yeah,
Yeah.
forest lands primarily. What's left
Okay.
of the forests.
But it does look like it doesn't really improve much downtown Gualala.
No. So if you zoom into that center street, it is the same.
See, that's why I was
Right.
wondering about if you're located on that Moonraker tower. Because I know we have Verizon service. We get good service in downtown Gualala from that tower, I'm assuming, because Verizon is on it. If AT&T were on it, it would help service the downtown part of Gualala.
Robert,
Right.
But
I'm an AT&T customer. I have a direct line of sight to the Moonraker Tower from my house. It's about 8 miles from my house. And I do get 2 to 3 bars from my house. And I'll comment later on where I tested AT&T on Monday while I was looking for balloons. But these maps are fairly accurate. I did get service in most of these areas already.
so you're getting service from the Moonraker tower, Tom?
I get it from the Moonraker Tower. It did seem to get slightly better in some parts of town when Big Gulch went online, but Big Gulch is so far north that it didn't affect much. I usually don't have service at the post office. On Monday, I got 1 bar.
Okay, so that in a way answers my question that AT&T is on the Moonraker tower.
It is. It has been for a long time.
Okay, I had forgotten or whatever. Thank you.
So it seems like the only way to get much improved service downtown Gualala would be to put a tower much closer to downtown Gualala. Is that correct? Wasn't that proposed a few years ago?
Yeah, we've
got
gone
shot
through
down.
all that. We went through many different locations already in the past. AT&T did, I believe, also. They were up on the Bauer BLP lands. They were up on Gualala Redwoods lands, Gualala Redwood Timberlands. They were up at Ocean View Estates, the mobile home park north of town. They were at GBS, the Gualala Building Supply place. But then Big Gulch location became the focus after all those attempts, I recall.
Well, I wonder if it would be feasible to put a small antenna or a couple of small antennas. And not everybody might like this, but you know, on some buildings instead of a tower
No,
downtown.
no.
Well, that's why I said some people wouldn't like it, like Melissa.
Yeah, I kind of thought when we finally came to the conclusion on the Big Gulch location, and if you remember all, that was the big push and motivation at the time was to accept that installation, especially for our local emergency services. You know, the fire district, the ambulance district. I thought that was going to kind of be the end of our cell towers in town or in this community, in this coastal area. But apparently not.
Well, Big Gulch did, looks like it significantly improved coverage along Highway 1.
Well, Don, remember, you're not looking at a map of what existed before Big Gulch either.
I know, but what did we have before Big Gulch? We just had Moonraker.
I've
Was there
been
anything
here,
else?
I've been here for 7 years and I've always had 2 to 3 bars.
Yeah, that's because of Moonraker.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying, does Moonraker go that far north?
I used to get it most of the way through town, south through Sea Ranch and north to about the edge of this map on the northern part of Gualala along the coast. Not so much up on the ridge. I think Big Gulch had it significantly along the ridge, up in that top area where you see the purple and yellow.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me share a couple emails or just extracts from some of the emails that I've received. So you want to start?
I think that's good. And after you finish with Don, I'd like to say a few words too.
Yeah, sure. This is not going to take long.
We should also, Robert, you may want to take public comments before we go into council discussion.
Sure.
Okay, so looks like I got about 6 or 7 emails. I'm not exactly sure. There were, I think some people wrote me twice.
This is the other email that, or this is the other screen share you did with us earlier.
One was just a bunch of questions. So here's a couple of excerpts from some of these emails. You can see them, can't you?
No, Don, you've got the one signal strength testing along Old Stage Road
Okay,
that you got up at the moment.
I got that one. Okay.
Mhm.
Read them out loud.
I think you'll show them, Melissa.
Would you please read them out loud?
Melissa's on phone, and I think we have a
Oh,
couple
that's
of other
right.
people on
That's right.
phone too.
That's right. That's
Yeah, I'm
right.
going to do that if I can get this to. Let me see.
Please read them out loud for all of us on phones.
He will, Melissa, as soon as he's got them up
Okay,
for us.
I'm just going to read them. I'm not going to share the screen.
Oh, okay,
There's
okay.
an issue here. Okay, selected excerpts. What does it do that the Big Gulch Tower doesn't already do? Will only AT&T customers have better service? Most people I know have Verizon. Okay, next excerpt. Of course, most of us support it. Please recommend approving it. I'll say the names too. This is from Mike Nelson. That second one. The first one was from Vicky Hiltz. And these are all, of course, local residents. Third comment. While I like to have decent cellular service, I am reluctant to have another tower installed near my neighborhood, as I also like that we aren't completely immersed in a soup of various signals. That's from David Matson. Next, cell phone towers shouldn't be added in residential neighborhoods. And this proposed one is only for AT&T and won't help the large number of people who have Verizon. That's from Mary Sue. I think that question has been addressed. Next, over the years, we have had many visitors to our place in Gualala, and everyone younger than 60 was annoyed there was no cell coverage. For a place so dependent on visitors and second house owners to survive, it seems somewhat suicidal for a town not to have not much cell coverage in the year 2021. People want to be connected. That's from James Mitchell. Then last excerpt. What does this tower benefit, or who does this tower benefit? Most people in the community have Verizon and it works very well. We have further reach for internet, which also works superbly. What is the value to the residential area it will be located in? Will the homeowners in the immediate area be compensated? That's from Nita and Steve Petit. Tom, you want to?
Should we also open it up to any audience members that want to
Yes,
speak?
we have 3 audience members who may want to speak, Robert.
Okay.
I see Terry Fardrescher. I know she's been interested in this. Dave Bauer and let's see, there's a woman named Mary. I don't have a last name on that. Mary, if you share your last name when you speak, if you want to. And Dave Shapak is here.
Yeah, can I say one more thing before we open it up to the public here? We appreciate, especially the latest efforts that the council members, meaning you, Tom, and Don, and for getting the word out, okay? Because we know, as per what we've been told, the public or the residents up there on Ocean Ridge and Old Stage within 1,000 feet of this proposed tower won't get notified until January sometime. So at least some of additional public is hearing about this proposal at present. But Ashley, just so you know, based upon my calculations on the maps that you sent us for the coverage area, or the noticing area, I should say, only about 15 people are going to get noticed per that 1,000-foot requirement. Is that about right?
So I did check to see how many mailers that I did send off to Mendocino County upon submitting to the planning department, and it ends up being 51 individuals,
Good.
but a full
Okay.
number of 87 mailers being sent out, just because we don't only send out to the property address, but we also send out to the mailing address as well.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
But I came up with about 15 addresses that are within that 1,000-foot. Okay, so that's good that there's many more people being notified. Okay, so whoever wants to speak first from the public, you have the floor. Terry or anybody else?
And I'll just note each speaker gets the 3 minutes.
Okay,
So
I have a
we're usually
question.
pretty liberal about that. Terry Fardrescher, you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Ashley, could you just maybe answer a question for me? I wanted to know if this tower will also go through the environmental, studies that the Big Gulch Tower did. And my second question is in regard to backup generators and fire safety. If you could just give me a picture of what that might look like.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Terry, for joining us tonight regarding our Gualala Tower. So your first question, if this tower goes through environmental studies such as the Telespan Tower did, and the answer to that is yes. So AT&T conducts their own studies, such as a phase 1, which is an environmental assessment, also known as a NEPA. That's about a 6-month process to obtain information on archaeological and biological studies. The county also requires us to submit those studies for their review as well. So I know currently, or possibly already reviewed, a biological study has been submitted to Fish and Wildlife, and I know Mendocino County and our planner, Keith Dyke, is awaiting comment from that particular entity. So they do go through all the same environmental studies that are required. And then your second question on the backup generators. So the material that the generators are made of, it's all steel, so it's not highly known for them to catch fire or anything like that. And as well as the facility, the leased area, it's all gravelled within. So it's a very low chance of any fires to be conducted within the tower as well. And the backup generator also has a shutoff that could be done electronically from, not being on site as well. So if there were to be a fire in the area, AT&T would most likely turn that off anyways.
Okay, thank you, Ashley.
Okay, thank you. And is the fuel for the generators, do you know if it's diesel?
It is diesel, that's correct. And,
Okay,
the
thank you.
generator also, it's only turned on during emergency services, so it's not used throughout the life of the tower. So only in emergency services, and it's powered on maybe once a month for 10 minutes.
By the way, is
Thank
there any
you.
way you couldn't use solar battery, backup instead of a fossil fuel, generator?
That I'm aware of, there's only one project that was previously proposed, but it ends up being for solar panels, ends up being multiple panels. I believe for this one in particular, AT&T was using about 50 panels. And so it just would not be feasible on, another property such as the Andersons. He wouldn't have enough space, and it would just take out a lot of his land as well. So it's just not really feasible for us to use any kind of solar.
Anybody else from the audience that would like to ask any questions?
Yeah, sure. I got a few things to say. David Bauer here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Don for getting the message out and getting people involved, because that's great to see more of the town getting involved in stuff like this. I'm speaking, partially from a business person in town, and also from a utility in town, run the North Gualala Water. That Big Gulch Tower, since it went in, has, we use Verizon, thankfully it's on there. But we had two, emergency leaks we had to respond to, and I almost didn't turn on my phone because I knew I didn't have cell reception. And then I was like, oh wait, there's a new tower, and was totally able to use it. So it's helped the water customers. Some of them were confused as to why they didn't have water, and they texted my number because it's emergency contact. So I got first-hand communication with customers, and it was very convenient. Didn't have people wondering what was happening. That's just a side note there. I was curious, I went to the site and I took pictures too, because it was, I was curious because the message going out that it was going to be pretty tall. I thought the trees there were already, 60 to 100 feet tall there. And so that kind of led me to question, why are we only doing 120 feet? And I'm assuming various heights were already reviewed in the process, and maybe Ashley, you can speak to that. Just because like another 20 or 40 feet, I mean, instead of having 4 more towers, if you just have one that's just a little bit taller, I think it covers more. But again, I don't have those elevations there to look at in front of me.
Right. Thank you, David, for bringing that up. So, of course, AT&T would love for us to always recommend a 400-foot tower. It would, as far as height for the tower, the taller the tower, the more the antennas can reach, basically. So, but in this case, the Mendocino code, the tower height, and so from the property line to where the tower height or the tower is proposed needs to be 500% of that tower height. So I think that puts us at about, let's see, so 120, 500%. So we have to be about 600 feet away from every property line. And with the current proposed location and the actual property as a whole, the elevation that we chose and at the proposed site is the best elevation for AT&T. It's the highest elevation, and it was the best location to get us that 500%. So in regards to this specific tower and why we proposed 120 and not 140 or 160, as AT&T would most likely prefer, would be because of that Mendocino code at that 500%. We just would not be able to meet that guideline or expectation from the county. So that's the main reason why we did go with 120. And I know there were previously concerns about the telespan tower and how tall it was. And with tourism and everyone seeing this tower as well, off the shores of Gualala. I know that was a concern a couple meetings ago. So 120 is the highest height that we went with in conjunction with all of that.
Thank you. Just one follow-up. I know they, having gone through the cell tower process about 4 times now with people trying to put cell towers on our land just because we have land in various places. I know there are exemptions, but I mean, the easiest route is just to follow the rules, and I understand that and respect that. Thank you for answering my question. Just another thing that I wanted to say as part of the North Gualala Water, we're trying to put in remote meters, and that improves leak detection for our customers. And I believe part of the technology we could use using the cell. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Can we hear from anybody else in the public?
I have a comment.
Oh,
Um,
Mary?
I received a comment from a lady who lives right there where the driveway goes into Anderson's, and she was very much in favor of having cell service there for her and for the road and her neighbors around it. And she wanted me to let you know that she was in favor of it and she would really like to have it go in. So I just thought I'd let you know her comment to me and pass it on to you. She's right there. She's right on that road that goes right into Anderson's, right there at the top of that circle.
You happen to know if she has AT&T now?
I have no idea if she has AT&T or what, but I said that there would be a cell tower there on Anderson's, and she said, "Oh, geez, great, wonderful. I can't wait to use it."
Because right now she probably already has service from the Big Gulch Tower if she had a cell service.
I have no idea. She didn't say. She was just looking for better service and looking forward to better service because it'd be right in her backyard. She'll be one of the people who receives the mailer because she's within 1,000 feet of the tower. So
I have a quick question, Ashley. Do you intend to cut any trees for this project and or clear away brush in the area? When I was up there, I noticed there was quite a bit of dry brush, and there were also piles of rotting lumber. Looks like somebody milled some boards up there and just left the pile, and it's just rotting away. But of course, it would burn very fast and quickly. So I'm wondering what kind of brush clearance, tree clearance are you doing, if any?
Yep, so we are not cutting any of the trees in the proximity to the tower. As far as what is currently there in that leased, where the leased area is going to be, that will all be graded down. So all that brush and everything will be gone in the area where the actual leased area is and where our access road is going to be as well as our turnaround for fire. But AT&T has to comply with all of the building department's guidelines as well, and that normally includes something from CAL FIRE as far as brush removal and whatnot. And that will be during time of construction.
Okay.
Could I have a moment?
Can I ask one other question, Robert?
Mary or Terry? Who was that?
I just had one other question.
Okay, it sounds like Terry.
If I still have some.
Go ahead, Terry.
There was a question posed that I'm sort of repeating, but someone I believe on Facebook had mentioned why not locate the tower at the top of Fish Rock? Would it provide better coverage than the country club proposed location?
Thank you, Terry. So I'm not a radio frequency engineer, so I can't elaborate on whether or not that tower would provide better services than our current proposal. But I do know if it was shifted up to Fish Rock, I don't know if you saw the propagation maps earlier, but once you get to Fish Rock, they're not getting any services down there. So I don't know if proposing a tower over there would provide services to the same general area that AT&T was proposing, or their goals for this area for Gualala. I don't know if they would meet or exceed their goals intended. So for this particular project, it's Country Club Way was the best location as far as meeting AT&T's goals in this area. So Fish Rock Road might be a good location for location later on, but currently the proposal is for the Country Club Road.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
Does that help you, Terry? Okay. But as part of this proposal, were any other sites studied?
So I know before the current location, Anderson, myself in particular with this project, I did take it over from someone else. And I know it was at a school, Gualala Elementary School, possibly in the bus yard. And I know that did not go through with the Planning Commission. I don't know how far along they were in that review. So that project or that location was discussed with Mendocino County and also submitted. And then when I took the project over, I did view an additional 2 locations in this area, but ultimately AT&T decided to move forward with the Anderson property because it provided more coverage in the general area.
You don't know where those other 2 areas were? Those 2 other study areas? One of them may have been,
definitely.
One of them may have been Fish Rock. The reason I go back to Terry's question is because if Fish Rock is already an existing tower and were to, go south with its coverage, it may cover some of these old stage areas that you're looking to cover at the proposed site.
Yeah, in particular to the locations that we scouted, it was all around Country Club Way. And it was actually to the south of Country Club Way, the locations that we looked at. So we did not look up north on Country Club Way from off of Old Stage Road from Country Club Way. We did not go anywhere north.
I saw David Shapak, I think, was wanting to ask a question.
Yes, that'd be great. I'm Dave Spack. Thanks for letting me ask a question, and I also have a comment. Ms. Smith, is it possible for you to put up on your screen a plot plan that shows the location of the proposed tower on the Anderson property? It's difficult to understand that from the materials that have been made available at this point.
Yes, of course. Let me pull that up. Are you requesting maybe a map from Google? Would that help depict
whatever
the location?
Works, whatever is convenient. That just would enable me to see where on the property you have in mind to put the tower.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me know when you can see the location. Perfect. So we have, it looks like Ocean Ridge Airport. If you go down Ocean Ridge Drive to Country Club Way, all the way down that court, you'll see the Anderson property. They own actually a couple properties in this area, but the tower location is approximately right here. And then let's see if it'll let me zoom out.
Okay, that makes sense. Another question for you. Did you do a pity I wasn't able to watch the balloon simulation. I didn't realize it was happening. Do you have any sense of the visibility of the tower from Ocean View Lane? And
From Ocean View.
Yeah, that's the cul-de-sac off of Ocean Ridge Drive.
And I can answer that. I drove around Ocean View on my way out of that area, and I could not see the balloons from there. There may
Thanks,
be isolated spots where you could see it through the trees, but it wouldn't be. I wouldn't say it would be a
Pretty obscure.
dominant feature on Ocean Ridge.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Mhm.
Well, then, that's it for the questions. I do appreciate the time that everyone's taking, the thoughtful comments and considerations. But I wanted to echo David Bauer's comment that from a cellular access and communication standpoint, getting more coverage is generally a good thing. Particularly when a tower can be placed in a spot that isn't going to be irksome for people's aesthetics. It's always a trick, of course, given the topography and the coverage and the vegetation here to accomplish appropriate cell coverage. But I wanted to touch on one other topic, and that is the intended utilization of this tower to extend internet access. And one of the things that we really struggle with here, and again, recognizing the heroic efforts of Further Reach and Sky Fiber and others, is to provide access to the internet. And if this tower is going to make it easier for the families in the area to do remote learning, to connect their Chromebooks and make it possible for people to conduct business in the rural area, then this is seriously a benefit for the community. But with that, I just again want to express my appreciation for the work you guys are doing, for the care taken by the GMAC members, and great presentation, Ms. Smith. I appreciate your help. That's it.
Okay, thanks, David Schopbach. Anybody else on the council or anybody else in the audience?
I don't think there's anybody else in the audience, but I have some comments.
Okay, Tom.
First, I want to thank Ashley and Donna and Don. I think Don's done an outstanding job on this, and especially people in our community for exploring this issue. Since we put it up on Facebook and got the ICO to report on it, there's been a lot of interest in this. And let me echo, almost everyone in our community wants better cell service and more Wi-Fi options, and most important, open channels for our first responders. And I'd be first in line there. The harder part of all this is balancing all the different options to provide high quality service at a fair price in all parts of our town without harming either our scenic environment or creating a safety hazard in our community. And I have voted in the past for one tower, the Big Gulch Tower, and voted against the second in the same area. So when I look at this project, those are my criteria. This is our fourth session about this particular tower, and I'm glad we got the word out to the community. I'm grateful for all the input. As I said, we had more than 60 plus comments and questions on Facebook. I know Terry was on there and other people. Glad to see that. Good questions, good discussion. And Don received, I think, 6 or 7 emails. But I still think there's a lot of confusion about this project and how close it is to the existing tower and what the options are for other types of service, what other towers we may have in our future, because this doesn't cover a large area. There are questions about the radio wave emissions, the radiation that comes from those, and the capacity. So let me go through a few of these. I want to make sure that when we add towers, they add a proportional amount of service and a good range of service and high quality service at a good price. This tower is close to the existing tower. And while it would add some coverage along the ridge, we have not seen signs it would add significantly for residents along the coast, the county park, the downtown area, or our friends across the river at Sea Ranch. Indeed, the service maps we're seeing don't do that. And I'm going to share a screen here if I could. If who's sharing now? Okay, I'll just share now. Before I go any farther, you should be seeing a picture of the balloons, are you?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Should be coming up.
Yes, now.
Okay.
Yeah, I always see it.
So there you see the balloons right about the middle of that picture. This is a photo by Amanda Anderson, one of the applicants on this. It's their land. And you see it's just over the treetops. And somebody says, well, that's not very high. So I quickly did this little drawing when I put up this picture before to show the trees up there are about 60 to 80 feet tall. These are bull pines mostly, some redwood. And there are the balloons at about 120 feet. So that you can see the trees are nearer to us than the others. Let me go to the next slide here. Now this red mark here is it does not indicate the height of this tower, obviously, but just the location, and that's an approximate location. But I really wanted to show this because you can see the Big Gulch Tower and how big it is and how it does not look like a tree. It really stands out from the surrounding environment. I've gotten used to that, but I wouldn't get used to it if there were 6 or 8 of these around town. I wouldn't get used to it if there were 12 of varying heights. They don't blend with the tree line. And this one's camouflaged. The new AT&T tower would not be. This map shows the red dot up here shows approximate location of this tower at the bottom of Country Club Lane. And the green one shows the approximate location of the Big Gulch Tower. As you can see, they're pretty close together. This bullseye down here is our downtown area. This is where we need the most service. The outer circle is where most of our residents live, a couple of thousand. And the inner circle is our downtown area, where our tourists come, where our people work, where people come to shop, where emergency services are located and such. So this is a vital service area for us. And we can see this project has no particular benefit to this area, which concerns me. The green part down here is the Gualala Point Regional Park. And service is particularly spotty on this peninsula along the beach and on the trail leading back to the parking lots there. People hiking there lose signals all the time. I know I do. The existing coverage, the new coverage, we saw these earlier, and there's just not a lot of difference there, is there? Let me point out something. This is the new one. This purple area here, the reliable coverage for outdoors only, is mostly unpopulated. This is Old Stage Road here. As Don mentioned earlier, you can drive down Moonrise now and still get a couple or 3 bars. There's not a lot of new service here. And there's the side-by-side maps, so you can see them. So I'm kind of concerned about that. I'll be frank about it. I think that's all I want to share right now. But let me go on. I voted for the Big Gulch Tower in part because it added to the ability of our first responders to communicate. And it's a good tower, despite its height and looks. I'm not crazy about its looks, but it does provide additional service, especially north of town. I can get signals on AT&T all the way to, pretty much all the way to Point Arena. I would expect any new service for first responders to go on that taller tower first. I drove from Country Club along Old Stage south, streaming music on AT&T, all the way south, around the bend, down into town, and to the post office. That day I actually got a bar or 2 at the post office, which was rare. I then drove out to Gualala Point Park and still had a bar there, which is even down on the trail, which I thought was pretty rare too. So you picked a good day. I did not see the balloons from anywhere except on Country Club Lane. So I'll say that up front. I have heard from numerous residents. So my point there is there's already AT&T service for virtually everybody who lives up there, at least for phone and for streaming music, which is a fairly high intensity use. It's not quite as high as streaming TV. But if you're talking about 10 megabytes service, that's pretty low for streaming TV too. And with peak periods, a lot of demands, you'd start seeing that fade away pretty quickly. I'm discouraged to hear you're only talking about 4G LTE, because we have 4G LTE now, at least my AT&T phone says we do. And we're not preparing Gualala for 5G, which would require different types of antennas and different bandwidths, as you noted earlier. I heard from numerous residents who are concerned about radiation from the tower's radio waves. Whether we can consider that or not, I have some thoughts on it. This tower is in a remote area, and I think that radiation would be diluted over distance. The Andersons, who live at the base of it, would have the greatest radiation, and they're being compensated for that, but other residents nearby would not. I grew up under smoggy skies in an urban area when I was young, and we cured that. We got rid of a lot of the smog. We don't normally have photochemical smog in Gualala, but I've been reading articles reflecting growing concern about what's being called radiation smog. And that rang a bell with me. So I'm concerned that these towers would contribute to the radiation level, especially if it doesn't add significant amount of new service. And that over time, as we add more and more service, as 5G does come in here, as we have other types of antennas coming in, we're going to be creating radiation smog over Gualala. I specifically remember during the Telespan hearing, there was a gentleman there whose wife was very sick and talked about the impact of radiation on her illness and how they had moved to this area and to be away from it all on the advice of their physician. And then we were building a tower down the street from them. And I voted for that tower, and I wanted that gentleman to know I heard him, and I did, and I remember it now. And I know there are other people in this community who are very concerned about this, who moved up here to get away from it. I read the letter that Don read earlier about the fellow who has a weekender who comes up here and says his kids like to have cell service when they get here. I get that. I totally get that. But on the other hand, why do they come up here? They come up here to get away from a lot of the things that they have in the city. So I'm kind of conscious of that and the effect on the environment. I have major concerns about aesthetics. They don't seem to enter into this case, that, unless all the trees around it catch fire, which they do from time to time. And then we'll have a big steel tower there, a 12-story tower that we'll be looking at until new trees grow around it. Nature is what drew most of us to live here. And we also are supported to a large extent by tourism, and people come here to look at the trees, not towers. So preserving the natural scene is critical. The Big Gulch Tower was supposed to be hidden, but it stands out sharply. I didn't expect it to look anything like that on the presentations we got from our hearing. I believe everything Ashley and Donna are telling us tonight. I'm not suggesting anything's being hidden here. I trust that the balloons were actually at 200 feet, that kind of thing. The faux branches on Big Gulch add some bulk, but it really doesn't disguise the steel frame tower. It still looks like, it actually makes it bigger and more like an oil derrick to me. The new proposal would not be disguised in any way. And while I couldn't see the balloons from anywhere in town on Monday, I did hear concerns from neighbors who didn't know about this project, and GMAC reached out and expressed concern about seeing them up in the Country Club Lane area. And whether you can see them from Ocean Ridge or not, I'm not positive about that, but I did not see them. So, yeah, I'm not really, I don't think I have any other thoughts. I've just been scribbling things down like crazy in here. You mentioned 50 mailers. Well, that's great, but we have a couple of thousand people in town, depending on how, I don't know what the census is going to come out with. I like to say there's about 3,500, 4,000, but that's just a guess, because I know there's a lot of people who live off the grid up here and don't really want to be counted. So it's not a lot of people, not a lot of households you're talking about. And the service area you're talking about is a fairly sparsely populated area of our town. And you're kind of missing the target of that bullseye I showed earlier, which I think AT&T and Verizon and others need to come in to downtown and put some lower emission signals closer to the downtown area, perhaps out at the park where they give good service. It's a clear shot to downtown. There are some public buildings that can be used. There are some public areas that can be used if you can't find a private owner who wants to do that. The post office might be interested, I don't know. I know people would balk about having radiation downtown, but they're going to have radiation downtown from this. And that's contributes to that smog too. I like the idea Don mentioned earlier of having a series of smaller antennas, perhaps along the ridge, perhaps on existing telephone poles that could reach out and provide more even coverage, better coverage without creating new towers. And I don't feel that this project is really well positioned or really serves what will be the 5G needs of our community going forward. So that's all I wanted to say. I honestly came to the meeting tonight undecided about how I'm going to vote on this. But those are the thoughts that are on my mind tonight. And I want people in the community to know, again, I thank them for speaking up. I want them to know we hear them, we care about it, and we also care about bringing high quality telecommunication services to Gualala and improving them over time. We have a big tower now that beams signals all the way down to Salt Point and provides service all the way up to Point Arena and beyond. And it's big, but it's versatile. And this tower is a little too close to it for my comfort level. I think we should be, if it were on the other side of town, I'd be much more favorable about this. If it really gave strong signal through the most populated area, I'd be very favorable towards this. So that's kind of where I sit tonight, and I thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Don.
Robert,
Yes,
Robert, can I weigh in on this?
please, Kevin.
First, I'd like to thank Ashley and Donna for their presentations at all of our meetings. You've provided a lot of really good information for us to weigh in on. I'd also like to thank David Bauer and David Spack and Terry Bardresser for addressing our group today as well and sharing their thoughts. And Don Hess, great presentation. I really appreciated it. I'm coming at it from a different perspective. I'm not only looking at right now, but the future growth of our area. And to be just locked in and concerned about our current coverage and not taking into consideration maybe further growth in our community might be a little short-sighted on our part. The other thing that I'm right now, we're looking at a map detailing AT&T's coverage. We don't know if other carriers come in, what their coverage will expand that area to. So I would hate to limit our options by saying AT&T is only covering a short segment of our community when there be other carriers that might be able to expand that. And I think we had a few public comments from the public that said that they were Verizon carriers and they were interested in seeing how that plays out. And I appreciate Ashley and Donna's candor in it that they really can't speak to what other carriers that AT&T may be working with. So, but that option is open. It's open for 3 additional carriers. But I think the most important thing to me and David Bauer touched on it, is our emergency response, whether it be a water issue, a fire issue, or even safety services. We had the police or sheriff this evening talk about response time for crime. Well, if we can't contact the sheriffs and if they can't contact among themselves, the response time in the dead service areas is going to be even longer than 37 minutes. And I don't think I would feel comfortable not supporting a project and maybe sacrificing our emergency services coverage. That's important. I agree that downtown is the focal point, but I think our town's going to grow. We've seen a lot of development, a lot of remodels, a lot of families moving in here, and their expectations are high. And one of those expectations is cell coverage. And I think that's going to be a problem with selling homes if we don't have adequate cell coverage throughout the area. I'm actually leaning for this project. I think that what they've presented to us is an excellent picture on where we are now and where we will be in the future. And I think that it's up to Mendocino County Planning Commission and the board from here, but I would hate to not endorse a project that can better our community. And that's my feeling, that this project will better it for now and in the future. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any other council members? You have any last words, Dawn or Melissa? Do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
First, I'll start with that last one. Growth of residents or anything else in Gualala is strictly tied to our water source. We don't have any new water source. We're not going to get a new water source. Our water situation is only going to get worse because global climate emergency is only going to get worse. We need to look at what we have right now. If it ever gets better, trust me, there's going to be no problem getting more cell towers if they're needed. But when it comes to what we need better broadband coverage, and what we need to get that is safer and more reliable and more with higher security fiber optic cables. So you can get fiber optic cables to every residence and every business between the bridge and Big Gulch Road, right on Highway 1. You'll get downtown covered. That's what we need for broadband internet, is safety and security. And you can get grant money for that. This tower sounds superfluous and it's not safe. So that's my input.
All right, Melissa, thank you. All righty, should we, Dawn, should we slowly wrap this item up, or?
Robert, do you have any comments?
Anybody, who?
You.
I've asked some questions earlier. I'm still not convinced that we need this tower. I have to say it feels from and I thank our applicants for showing us all these seeing the map side by side helped me. Hearing that we do have coverage from the south, AT&T, we are getting good coverage in these different areas up on the ridge and north to Point Arena. I just think we can still do better than this particular location. That's why I was asking if what other areas have been studied. I know I mentioned earlier that when we were, it was definitely a hard time for us on the council when we were given or presented with this first tower proposal. Having that first tower in the community was a hard pill to swallow. And it was though primarily pushed and like I said, pushed and motivated by emergency services. We didn't have anything at that time. So we got one. We got a huge tower. And yes, some people think the aesthetics is the big issue on that one, but we did come up with a solution at the time. And right now I'm thinking we were getting a little bit redundant here. And what about the people beyond, let's say Tanbark Road or beyond Anchor Bay and some of the in-between areas between the ridge and like an Iversen? I think Mary Mobert, our administrative secretary, brought it up at the last meeting. Are we going to see more towers heading further north? This proliferation of towers is what bothers me. Okay, and that seems to be the only solution, is to put another tower in, another tower in, another tower in. We've got a huge tower already. That should be sufficient, in my opinion. So Tom, those are kind of sums up how I'm feeling at the moment. I think we can do better still at this point.
I have another comment too. If
Sure.
I could just respond to something Kevin said, and I said this when I spoke, I'm first in line to say we need emergency services, communications, and better communications in the whole community. We have good emergency services communications from towers now. I don't think that would be substantially improved with this tower. I don't think Verizon would get a substantially bigger footprint than AT&T would from a dish on the same tower in the same place. And remember, T-Mobile, AT, and Verizon haven't even signed on to this yet because the tower doesn't exist. It's not clear that they would. And we still down the road talking about the future if we grow. I still think smaller towers, better distributed, providing 5G service instead of 4G would be highly preferable to what we have now. This wouldn't really add to the current situation very much at all. And the cost, I think, has to be considered on a cumulative level. And that concerns me. So I just wanted to respond to those particular points. Thanks.
So I'm going to leave it to Dawn to wrap up, and then maybe we should conclude this. Should we make a motion? Should we vote? What should we do next, folks?
Yeah, I think we should probably, make a decision tonight for sure.
Okay.
I must say I'm leaning towards approving it, mainly because, I think an attempt was already made to provide a service directly downtown, and it failed. And that was years ago, and there's been no new proposal since to really cite something downtown. Maybe something will happen in the future, we don't know. But this does improve coverage. It's clear from the maps, maybe not in every area that we would like it to, but it does improve coverage, especially up on the ridge where a number of people live and where there's only one bar. We don't know whether Verizon or T-Mobile will actually want to co-locate on this tower, but the option is there. And my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but AT&T is obligated to allow them to co-locate. So, this co-location cannot be blocked. They have to cooperate with other providers. And that was a key point for me, because I felt if this was only going to be an AT&T tower forever, it doesn't make sense, We have to share resources, the resources that we have among the different providers that exist, because if every provider has to build their own tower, then it gets really crazy, towers all over the place. And the location, how do we go about second guessing, the engineers that figured out where this tower should be? Yeah, maybe up near Fish Rock, which is higher, maybe that would work better for certain locations, but I suspect it still wouldn't get to downtown Gualala, being so much further away. mean, this is difficult terrain. Let's face it. It's very tricky, difficult terrain to provide cell coverage. I think we all know that. And so if this tower can provide some improvements, then why not proceed with it? And it also will prioritize first responder traffic with a quality of service system. So I think that's a good point that we should keep in mind. I know there aren't any first responders here tonight arguing for or against it, like there were at the last, the Big Gulch Tower hearing that we had. But I suspect they would be for this tower. I do have concerns about radiation, but we can't really consider that, unfortunately. I think that is a real issue, but we cannot reject it for a reason. We cannot.
John,
Yes.
we can consider it because this is not a court of law. We can make our recommendation based on anything we want to because we're not a court of law.
My understanding is a tower cannot be rejected for those reasons. So that would be by the Planning Commission. So-
Tower cannot be sued, cannot be taken to court, cannot be refused in court. This isn't court.
Well,
We can talk about anything we want to.
okay, but I suspect Mendocino County is not going to risk a court case on this, given the resources it has.
If I could interject there, I think you're both kind of right. Don, the current regulations for the county, last I heard, were that we could not consider radiation as a factor. However, as you noted tonight, one of your questions, I think it was number 10, that's a changing picture. And there are lots of new studies that have come out in the last 30 years that have made people think about this. I don't think it's something we could ignore as we go forward. And unless there's a huge benefit for this tower. As far as siting goes, and I apologize in advance for this, Ashley, it's not to single you out or your company, but this is a company that makes its profits from putting antennas in. It's not from putting towers in. It doesn't have to be a tower. We can have smaller antennas in other parts of town that have different bandwidths and provide better service for our first responders and others. This isn't it's not this service or no it's not this tower or no service. It's this tower or alternatives to provide better service. I think Ashley said a couple of meetings ago that or maybe it was on our conversation on the phone, Ashley, that you don't really work for the short tower people, you work for the big tower people. Is that right? Is that a fair summation?
Yeah, basically, we work the macro sites, which are taller than, I believe, 60 feet. So,
and if Donna's still
Normally
with
what we
us, we'd love to hear from I don't think she is with us, but we'd love to hear from the small tower people on why we can't do this better and wiser and smarter with less of an intrusion and end up with much better service than a 10 meg service.
I want to hear about AT&T doing fiber optic cable to us.
Well, that's a different subject, Melissa. There is a big movement out now saying that the healthiest thing to do is do wired service. Of course, we're talking about wireless tonight. We're talking about phone calls. We're talking about just wireless. Wireless has its limitations. It has data limitations. It has bandwidth limitations. 10 megs is not a lot for major internet service. It's the bottom rung of service for further reach, for example, and at about the same price. Further reach goes up to 35 megs for its high-end residential service, and can do. I just spoke to the owner a couple of weeks ago. He said they could do a gig if they wanted to, but they have a business service I'll talk about a little later that does offer about twice what they offer to residential. So 10 megs is kind of limited in what you can do with it, and it will become more limited as applications and services grow over time. By the way, if Verizon and other services, T-Mobile or whoever, came onto this tower, you'd have triple radiation. And would you get better service? Probably you'd get the same thing you'd get through AT&T here. It's a very limited range in a very low populated area of our community. So I just wanted to speak to those points.
All right, thanks again, everyone.
I'd like to make a motion that we not approve of this proposal to construct this cell tower.
I'll
Anybody want a
second for discussion. And the discussion, Melissa, I wonder if you'd amend that to put in a couple of reasons. Perhaps that we don't discern that there's sufficient benefit from this tower and recommend AT&T and other carriers and recommend other carriers and AT&T consider other sites that would better serve our community.
Yeah, I'd say the reason would be is that it's superfluous.
Well, that's a little general. I think we should be a little bit more specific if we could.
Would you wish to add the items that Tom just mentioned, Melissa, to your motion?
What were those? More succinctly, Tom, please.
All right, let me see if I can do this. We recommend denial of this permit, cite the number, because we believe it would deliver insufficient benefit to the community. And we recommend AT&T and other carriers explore alternate sites that would bring better service at a better value to a larger part of our community.
Would that be a motion? You like, Melissa likes that motion, okay. Do we?
I make that motion then.
Okay.
I remove the previous motion and make that motion like she's just stated it.
And we have that recorded, okay.
And I'll second that.
And the coastal development permit number that we're referring to is 2021-0006 Anderson, and that's the Epic Wireless proposal, cell tower proposal. And Tom, you're going to second that, okay? So do we have more open discussion from the council on this before we take a vote?
I don't know. I think everybody's pretty much expressed themselves at this point, and
Okay.
I had a feeling this was not going to be a unanimous decision.
We have strong
I
feelings.
just feel that, by rejecting this tower, then if it doesn't get built, who knows how long it will be before anything else crops up in terms of a realistic, viable alternative to expand the cell coverage and other services in our area. And this does expand, maybe not everywhere, certainly not downtown. And for downtown, we're going to need something entirely different. Nobody's going to want a big tower downtown. So yeah, small little antennas on buildings, I think that would make sense. And I'm kind of curious why AT&T has not explored this option, if they have not. And I don't know if Ashley, if you have any information about whether that was explored, but that would be a great alternative, at least for downtown. It wouldn't help people up on the ridge.
Okay, Don, we have a motion and a second. Anybody else want to comment?
Robert, you need to know now that if you vote yes, you are voting that you do not want the tower. And if you vote no, you are voting to vote for the tower. This is one of those backwards motion.
Well, you're not actually voting for the tower if you vote no, because that's not on the table.
Oh boy, do we
This is only a denial. This is not a
No, it is
affirmation.
a denial, and therefore, if you want to deny it and
Right.
not have the tower, it's a yes. And if you don't want, and if you do want the tower and not the denial, it is a no. It's just one of those opposite things. And I
Oh,
just
we'd have
wanted
to have a separate motion to approve the tower. So
my motion is to not approve the tower.
Right.
That's-
Reject the application. Or recommend
Right.
rejection.
So a yes vote would be to deny approval, or would be to deny, our advisory recommendation to deny the tower
Yes,
proposal.
correct.
A yes vote.
Yes.
So let's
Okay.
vote.
So everybody clear on that?
Yeah, we're clear.
Yep.
Okay, I will start with Melissa.
Yeah.
Next, I'll go to Kevin,
No,
and I'll put myself in the middle this time. Robert, I'm a yes. Don,
No.
okay. The vice chair has the last vote.
Yes.
Okay, we have taken a vote. What do we have? 3 yeses, 2 nos, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Not easy, folks.
Now, that was correct.
That's about as close as they get here, Ashley. You know, I felt on the fence about the Big Gulch Tower, and I felt on the fence tonight. And I could have fallen either way on either tower, frankly. I'm glad I voted for Big Gulch, even though I still have reservations about it. And I know down the road, I'll get kicked a little bit for voting against this one. But, you know, I think the community needs to be educated about these subjects more. We need to be educated about these subjects more. We'd love to have somebody from AT&T or your company or whoever is appropriate, or other companies, come in and talk to us about how to build the infrastructure we need here in Gualala. Because what we get is, from our perspective, seems very opportunistic. It seems like companies come in here and say, hey, I'm selling a site to such and such a carrier. And what we really need is somebody to come in here and say, well, what does Gualala really need? And this is what the system would look like. And we hear your concerns, and this is what we recommend. And we're not getting that. That's what we're looking for. But thank you very much. And please express our thanks to Donna. She's been very helpful as well.
Yeah,
No.
thank you, Ashley, for responding to all the questions we had tonight.
Yes,
No,
of
actually,
course, anytime.
This wasn't easy on our community, okay? It's like, it reminds me a lot of our initial Telespan proposal that we had, yet we were at the community center. We had hundreds, well, over 100 people at that. It really tore at us all. It was very difficult, but I think we were overwhelmed by the amount of emergency services people that really felt we needed something established here in this community. So this
And we've
happened
got
to
that
be-
now.
Yeah, this happened to be a remote meeting, and it felt just as tough, although we're a little bit removed from the personal contact, but it's not easy on us. So you know, something better will hopefully come out of this. Yeah, I'm hoping, but we'll see. Any last comments?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I mean, we could keep going with our comments.
thank you, Ashley.
Thanks,
Yes,
you guys.
thank you all for your time and allowing both me and Donna to be on these meetings. We really appreciate it.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much and have a great night.
All right.
You
thanks.
too.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hope to see you
Well-
back here sometime soon with a different proposal.
Yes, and hopefully I'll win the next one. Have a
There's the
great night.
spirit. Good for you.
Win, yeah, we all hope want to win. Hey, that's tough. Now we got to go on to another tough one. Anyway, you want to take a break? What time is it?
It's only
8:27.
8:30, but we should wrap it up pretty quickly. I think the rest of the agenda should go pretty quickly.
Okay, let me go right into the next thing here. This was the Coastal Development Permit 2021-0032, the Wolf. It's also continued. This is something that Kevin and I walked this parcel. We had a lot of questions. We had a lot of comments at the last meeting, as you'll see from our meeting minutes from last month. Kevin, I looked at the meeting minutes from last month and I go, oh boy, I didn't contact Mr. Michael Wyke nor the applicant. Did you? Or did you, it said in the meeting minutes that Kevin would walk the site with either Michael Wyke or the applicant. Did you have a chance to do that by chance?
No, I thought that, well, no,
Okay.
I didn't. I'll just
Okay,
leave
so
it
we-
at that.
So we both, I dropped the ball on that. I mean, I'm sorry. So, and I noticed that there's, Michael Wyke is not in the audience. I think Mary had mentioned something to him. Did you not?
Yes, I did contact him. He said he would be here tonight. I did send him an agenda. And he isn't here, so I don't know. He told me that the owner did not want anyone to be representing him, that he didn't want to pay someone to represent him. So Michael said that he would talk to the owner and tell him that it was most vital that he talk with GMAC regarding this project. Evidently, maybe the owner said no, he didn't want to pay Mr. Wyke to do that. And so I don't blame Michael for not being here if he's not being paid for his time to do so.
Well, Robert, then I'll quickly jump in. I
Okay.
personally have a hard time approving this as submitted because there were a lot of questions that I had regarding the footprint of the property, the ESHA question, the identification of which trees would be removed. Does he have a permit to cut the trees down? There's a lot of open-ended questions for me that unfortunately no one is representing the applicant this evening, so I would have a hard time moving forward and recommend that we hoping that someone might.
We're losing you a little bit, Kevin. We lost you a little bit there, but I do hear what you said. You know, are you finished? I'm sorry, Kevin. Okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. No, I'm of like mind, Kevin. I did spent a lot of hours on this. I went to the site again on my own. I looked this over and over again, and I sure wish the applicant or the representative could have been here to answer some of my questions. I'm not feeling comfortable going forward with an advisory recommendation on this at the present time either. There's just too many open questions on this, and I don't know what to do exactly, other than maybe table it again, see if anything occurs. I can't make a motion to approve nor deny at the moment, but and I have too many questions. So I'd like to propose that we table it and maybe see further if we can get any comments from the applicant or the representative.
I have a question.
Yes, Melissa.
Do you ever deny something and say that the reason is that the applicant hasn't been present to answer any of our questions?
No, we haven't denied things, but we've approved things without an applicant being here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, because it could be you had questions that you felt were so important that you didn't want to approve it without getting the questions answered. And maybe the only way to drag the applicant out would be to say, no, we refuse until you come talk to us.
If we've had proposals or CDPs presented to us or on our agenda that were pretty much straightforward, we've been able to make a vote on them. But this one is
straightforward. This one doesn't sound forward.
This one is not, right? And that's why Kevin and I are struggling with this. Okay, we're saying no. We need further input, and
right. That's what I'm saying is, have you ever denied one, saying we're going to deny it now because we don't have enough information to say yes?
I don't feel I want to deny it quite yet. I need to know more before I can even vote any which way on it.
So how do you get the applicant in to talk to them?
I propose to table it once again.
If Michael White is per the direction of the applicant, basically instructed not to attend, then we could table this. And
how about
if he's not going to, our questions aren't going to be answered.
Kevin, how about if I write a letter to the DeWolfs, the applicant, the owner of the property, and say something to the effect, if the council members agree, that GMAC will not render their advisory recommendation on this until we hear further from either the applicant or the applicant's representative.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And quite frankly, you know, if they're not willing to show up and provide us with any information on this project, which I think personally, I think is way too big for this particular site right on the edge of the ocean. I think if they don't show up, we don't approve it.
I don't think,
simple.
yeah, I don't think we should afford them our advisory recommendation.
No.
Right.
So I will write that letter and I'll recommend that we table it for tonight. Is that all right with everybody?
It's fine with me.
And
I'm a little wary of
And
that
can we-
strategy. Go ahead, Kevin.
All right. Go ahead,
okay.
Kevin.
Well, my question is, if we were to write a letter, would we request a response in writing?
We work at the behest of the county, right? So we are to actually do a service for the county, come to think of it. Maybe I should direct that letter to the county.
What if they didn't show up for the planning commission meeting on this one? How would that fly?
Yeah.
You know, I have an observation and a thought.
Okay,
We are here to give input on projects, as we did tonight on the tower. We're uniquely suited for doing that. That's why GMAC exists, why municipal advisory councils exist. For people who want to go around us and go directly to the county where they think they'll get an easier ride, for us not to be involved works to their favor. So as a precedent, I don't think it's a good idea just to stay out of it. If you were summoned to court and you failed to show up, you get default judgment against you. And I think the appropriate thing to do would be to write to the applicant and say, you know, this is part of the process. We expect you to be at the next meeting. And if you are not, we'll be forced to recommend denial of your permit for not failing to provide sufficient information. I think you should put it that way too, though.
I can add that to
Yeah.
the letter, Tom.
I agree. That's the way it should
I
read.
agree.
Okay,
There you go.
I agree with Tom on that.
okay.
Melissa, I can't remember the last time we agreed so much.
One of us must be sick, Tom.
I'm feeling good, girl.
Okay, well, that sounds like we got consensus on my doing that, if that's all right. Kevin, maybe I should run it by you, the letter first, before I send it out.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Okay, and then that way we can say we're tabling it for one more month, hoping that one of you, the applicant or the applicant's representative, will show up and give us the input we need. Otherwise, we will deny it. Okay, well then,
Wait, one more question.
sure, Melissa.
When will that be heard by the county?
Well, they're waiting for input from the different referral agencies that they've sent this out to, and there's many, believe me. I mean,
Okay. There are
everybody,
times that we comment on something that's going to be decided in 3 days from now. I want to make sure that.
yeah, I wouldn't fear that on this one, okay? It's gonna
Okay.
go way beyond us anyway, I get the feeling. Sure, they're gonna look at the advisory council's recommendations on this project, but I get the feeling it's gonna go much more beyond that. So I don't think postponing this another month, especially over the Christmas holiday, is gonna put us in any kind of an inferior position with regards to commenting on it.
And Robert,
Good.
I would say that I wouldn't put it that we will deny. I would say that it would be subject to denial.
Subject to denial.
You don't,
yeah.
you don't want to basically state how the council is going to vote on an item before it's heard.
Right. You're so right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good point, Kevin.
The response due date was October 6th. This
Well-
was received September the 24th. So you know how the county works.
Right.
They wanted ASAP, and they have yet to say anything about their holding any sorts of county meeting regarding this, the approval commission. So with, as you said, with the holidays, et cetera, it will probably be all right for January, but you know, I don't know.
Well, maybe you'll want to send a letter CC to county planning so they know what we're up to.
Yes.
And I agree with Kevin. That's a good idea, Kevin. Maybe we could just say that they could be subject to a default judgment against them or a default ruling against them.
The staff planner is Matt Goins.
Goins, yeah.
G-O.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Goins.
So CC the letter to the county, to Matt Goins, okay? Okay. Anything else on that continued CDP? Okay, hearing none, let's go on to item 7, council matters. Old business. There's nothing next to old business other than number or letter B.
Yeah, I don't think we had anything tonight.
Nothing on GCAP committee, okay?
GCAP, I don't think we have anything new. We are expecting Caltrans to come up with a plan in December for the streetscape project. And as Mary alluded earlier, I got a nice note from Caltrans District 1 signed by the district director, thanking me for my participation on the alternate transportation program this year. I reported on that the last couple of meetings about the effort to add bike lanes up north and the input I'd had there. And they've asked me to serve on that again in the coming year. So I just wanted to share that with the council, that people do listen to us. But that's it for me on GCAP.
Robert? Oh,
Yeah, Kevin.
can I ask a question? When is the last time we had a traffic study done?
Last year.
Um,
Caltrans
And do
did
we know
one
the
last year.
results? Do we know the results?
They reported on it in general terms. They didn't give us specific numbers, but they basically came to the conclusion that there was too much congestion downtown and that we needed a turn lane at this point.
But there's been a number of traffic studies done over the years that I recall of. One of them for the post office to be relocated where it was. One way back when, at the beginning of the streetscape. Another one, I believe, was done back when the sewer project was going on, if I'm not mistaken. But this recent one was when they had the cables across the highway. Is that not correct, Tom? Down
Yeah.
by the crosswalk.
Yeah, it was last summer sometime.
Was that in 20 or in 21?
It was in 20.
Yeah.
And then we had they reported a couple of times vaguely about it in the fall, made reference to it, and in the January meeting, or after the January meeting, in the January meeting when they came up with their new proposal, they said that they had concluded there was significant congestion downtown, too much to allow the any on-street parking, which is we had recommended that they allow some interim parking along the surf center, and they came out and said, nah, it's not possible. They recently in May said that they were looking at, because we had asked them, they were looking at restoring that. And but in our motion to them, we said, fine, we'll support that, but you have to renounce your earlier statement that there's too much congestion in downtown. That was one of several conditions we had on that, I believe. But that was based on their traffic study.
Okay, thanks for asking that, Kevin. Anything else under GCAP, Tom?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, before I forget, you remember when you were briefing us on the Caltrans Rumble and Shoulder project last month?
that's the thing that I was put some input in on the,
You were referring to that, weren't you? Okay.
yeah.
Did you happen to notice Caltrans on the highway in those 2 locations this past week?
No, I didn't.
I did, because I was driving up towards not only the CDP location, but to other locations I had to go to this past week. And they were there on both of those, close to the AmeriGas switchbacks, S-turns there, and also at the one up by getting closer to Iversen. They were there. So some progress or something is going on there.
That project was moving along very quickly.
Wonder
You know,
why.
by the time we wanted to give some input on that, they had already closed the comment period. They took my
Yeah.
questions, they passed it on to the work committee, and it went right into design. And
Yeah.
I got the feeling they wanted to build it as soon as possible. So I wouldn't expect to see, I wouldn't be surprised to see some construction there. But it was
Yeah.
after that that I got a nice thank you letter from the
Yeah.
ATP group and the district director. So I kind of putting one and one together there and maybe coming up with the wrong answer, but it seems to be 2.
It was a
Why
little
can't
bit,
they move that fast with the streetscape?
Yeah, I asked them that a couple of times.
What's going on here?
it's a little bit forced, that rumble and shoulder project. It's a little bit forced. I think they're, trying to avoid something like a bike lane or a pedestrian path along those stretches. I don't know.
That was specifically the reason for part of doing it.
Yeah.
They wanted to do that, and that's
Yeah.
what I pointed out was, you're not doing this very well. And they agreed, I guess, and took that out. They took the rumbles out, and they were going to change. They couldn't change the name of the project, but I think they did come up with some new designs, and I haven't really had a chance to study those yet.
It might be that they need to spend money before January 1st.
I don't think it's that fast, Mary,
That's it.
but
Wow.
I do think that they have a list of projects they're going to be building, and they kind of rushed this one through so they can get to that part of the list.
Yeah.
It just seems too.
Hurry up and wait.
One thing we don't appreciate is that it costs a lot of money to move equipment around and supplies around from location to location. So they tend to do things in kind of a straight ahead kind of way. And I think they were up to that part.
It just is concerning because it's going to affect some property owners along those 2 stretches. And I don't know if they've had an opportunity to give comment, I don't know that. And it just feels like we were definitely sideswiped or pushed along the side. So anyway, it was part of old business. So I thought I'd bring it up while I was thinking about it.
Okay. Well,
Let's go on to 7C, Housing and Economic Development Committee.
nothing tonight.
Okay. 7D, Electric Vehicle Charging Station.
Well, I've contacted Dave, who Foots, is that his last name? Kevin, you know him.
Fouts.
Of the community center, Fouts?
Yeah, David Fouts.
Fouts, okay. He's the chairperson, right, of the community center board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's willing to give me some time in front of the board, probably within the next couple months, to explain some ideas about, community center setting up an EV charging station that, would be public. But he also noted that, said to the effect that, well, we already considered this and decided not to. So, that's where they're at. I'm hoping that some more details about Biden's, infrastructure bill and the money, which I think is $7.5 billion for EV charging across the country. Hopefully by then there'll be some details about how that money will be allocated or how you can gain access to it with a grant or something. I don't know. But at least there is that possibility now that grant monies will be available for communities. And, part of one of the targets for these EV chargers is underserved communities, rural areas. So hopefully, Gualala, one way or another, can get we can get our hands on some of that money and proceed with setting up a public charging station. It's just, I'm just astonished that we still don't have one here in Gualala, which is we're a strategically located town on the coast.
Mhm.
And we should have something here.
I was shopping at Kohl's the other day in Santa Rosa, and they
Yeah.
have a free level 2 charger.
That's
Oh,
nice.
So I plugged my
Free.
little plug-in in and got an extra 10 miles for the time I was shopping at Kohl's.
Yeah, there's a free, at a CVS in Sebastopol, there's a free station too, charge point.
Yeah.
I don't know who's paying for it. Maybe CVS.
You'd think one of our malls would pick up on that and say, hey, this is a good way to attract customers and keep them here. So maybe
Yeah.
we'll hope to see that.
Anyway, that's all I have for tonight.
I can recall it took this community center a long time when they were talking about the generator, about putting a generator on the property. So maybe they will reconsider this. Who knows? It seems like one of the larger commercial establishments or a community center like that should be where one goes. Or a private property owner that's willing to fork out the bucks at some point, but we'll see. It may just all of a sudden cascade like crazy upon us that everybody wants one.
Well, anybody who's paying attention knows where all this is heading.
Yeah.
And in the years ahead, there are going to be many, many more EVs.
We will have 5G service. We will have fast chargers. It's just,
I don't know about the 5G because that requires a density, a certain density.
yeah, we will.
Apparently do not transmit as far.
No, they don't.
Maybe downtown Gualala, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think, out in the stretches along Highway 1, I'd be surprised if 5G.
No, I was talking about the Gualala area.
Yeah, okay.
One of the biggest problems with 5G is the denseness of the cell towers, no matter what size they are, seriously increases the amount of RFEMRs, the radiation.
That is true.
Seriously.
That is true.
The FCC needs to look into this. They can't, hide under the covers and just claim, oh, we covered this all in 96 and we're good, because no, we're not good.
And we'll never have
Technology-
the expertise really to study all the scientific aspects of this. So yeah,
They started
we
to
need
study-
some updated rules on this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The FCC started to do studies on it, and they were uncovering things they didn't like, so they cut off all funds to the study.
That
Since
sounds
that
like,
time, there have been over 5,000 scientific medical studies as published in peer-reviewed professional journals on the harms to health of both people, animals, and plants in RFEMR areas.
all right.
The
Well,
safe area
let's-
might be a quarter mile away, and then again, it might be a half mile away.
sorry, I didn't mean to trigger a whole nother discussion on cell
That's
stuff.
okay,
tonight.
Well,
We covered
Melissa-
that.
That's okay. Melissa's not on any committees, but at least she's contributing. Contributing. Okay,
I spend my time studying it.
I hear you. We're hearing that, Melissa. Okay, well, thanks for your guys' comments on that. You want to go on?
Yeah,
We'll go on
Let's
to
wrap this up.
7F,
7E.
7E, Telecommunications Committee? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'll take it, Don, if you don't mind. We had
Go ahead.
72 YouTube views. You'll remember last month's meeting was fairly short, and the big topic was the cell tower. Those views were pretty steady through the month, and the most interesting part of the meeting to most people, according to the data, was the cell tower discussion. I also have a short update on Further Reach. I mentioned in the last meeting that I had the top residential service from Further Reach, and I got a call from Further Reach. I had said at that point that the top plan was about 35 megs per second, and I was paying $130 a month. You'll see that's listed here as their top residential plan. It's an ultra plan, and at the time I got it, it was their top business plan as well. So Further Reach called and said, hey, we can do better than 35 megs. What are you talking about? And they directed me, if I can get this, to their business page, which hopefully this will work here. Come on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there you go. Their business page shows that they can go to 110 megs, but it costs $300 a month. So I asked them, I said, well, how much? They said, we can go to a gig. And I said, well, how much do you charge for a gig? And he said, well, we've never priced that. So I just wanted to add that it's a point of clarification. I promised them that I would, and there you have it. So I'll stop sharing, and that's all I have to say for telecommunications this week.
Any way you cut it, those prices are very expensive relative to the Bay Area. I mean, they're just.
Oh yeah, they are. And the service AT&T was talking about tonight for 10 megs was comparable to the lowest level Further Reach at about the same price, another $70 a month.
Nothing to write home about.
And yeah, and then you talk about data caps and other questions. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what CalNEVA comes up with as far as wired broadband and how they're going to distribute the signal, because they're talking about using utility poles and small transmitters and forming a ring around Gualala over the Ridge Route and down around downtown. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off. It takes a lot of negotiation and capital, but that would be an interesting way to go. And that would be tapping into fiber, by the way, which the other services already do.
Okay.
All right, that's it for that. Go on, Robert.
So we're at 7F, the Water Ad Hoc Committee. Dawn and I haven't met this past month. I did look at the USGS website, and I was just curious what the water situation is looking like back at the Gauge and at the North Fork because of the rain we have had. And I was surprised to see that we have 28.7 cubic feet per second going past the bypass, where we were on life support here prior to October with just barely under 1 cubic foot per second, if you remember. I did another comparison and I looked at what we were at last year at the same time on December 2nd, and we were only at 3 cubic feet per second. So, you know, having 28.7 cubic feet per second going past the Gauge on the North Fork is somewhat reassuring as far as water supply or water being in the river, period, for our other human or our other life forms. Okay.
Well, so that AR that hit us has some lasting power, you know, that
Yeah.
the hills and mountains soak up that water and then it gets released slowly but surely over time.
Yeah.
The hills are just like big sponges. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why we've talked about for years putting in a reservoir like the Sea Ranch did for those times where that we feel like we're going to be facing more and more, which are these drought times.
Yeah.
And who's to say we don't go into the prolonged drought at this point? Sure, they're saying that we're going to get some rain here in another week or so, but it could be that we don't get any rain in January, February.
This is looking like drought weather.
Then, then we're going to be even worse off come next year, August, September. So anyway, it's something we need to do all year round. I think it's conserve.
Yeah. By the way,
I'm hoping
I was
there's
glad.
some federal money in the infrastructure bill for rural areas to get more water security.
There's something going on at the state level too on that?
I don't know. I'm just pretty sure it's starting at the top in the infrastructure bill for water security.
Yeah. Okay. Well, too bad David Bauer's not around anymore, but I'm sure that they must be looking into some of this.
Yeah, well, speaking of David Bauer, you know, I'm glad he attended our meeting tonight. I mean, I can't remember. As a matter of fact, ever since I've been on the council, he's never attended.
No.
So
Yeah, I think he might have
interesting.
when you first started, Don. He was there for a few meetings.
Okay, I just don't remember. But in any event, it's good that he attended, and maybe we can get him back for specifically to talk about water.
Yeah.
I think we need that. So
Have a water forum.
Yeah.
well,
It's-
that might be tougher to do. I'm thinking just let's dedicate some time at a meeting, you know.
Yuck.
Yeah, because I'd like to ask them about the aquifers around here and how they're doing. They
Yeah,
might need a moratorium of more wells as well as more water meters.
I agree with Don. It was great to see that he showed up at the meeting. He represented himself as being the president of the North Gualala Water Company, and that's maybe a prelude to being able to invite him specifically on water issues at a later point. Okay, so Don and I will meet in committee and try to facilitate that. Okay. We're on to, well, we took that off the agenda, number 8. That's on hold, table till later date. I guess we're down to our administrative secretary, Mary Morbert's report.
Yes, I worked 17.55 hours and materials were $3.48 for a total of $310.60. And I have yet to be paid for last month. And
Yeah,
I don't know why. It could be that because they're changing the departments around and they haven't gotten to it. But
Mary, I contacted the county a day or two ago. They had just sent the check out. They were all apologetic, the Danielle lady was. They missed it. I sent your invoice out right after our last November meeting, and apparently they sat on it for quite a while, and then the holiday came, so they were using a couple excuses, but you should get it any day now, okay?
good, fine. I'll probably get it on Saturday.
Okay,
But I know that they're juggling all of these new department heads around and shuffling departments together and doing other things. So I thought maybe it might have gotten, lost or put it into somebody's inbox, into which a lot of other stuff went on top. So.
yeah. And I'm still working with them on the executive decision we made last month, okay?
Very well.
Okay. So we've got Mary Mobert's report. Do we have a Vice Chair Murphy report tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Go ahead,
Back to
Mary.
Back to Mary.
I just want to know when we could meet because we haven't met.
Okay, Tom and I have to work that out here.
Yeah, I'm pretty free right now. So, except for Monday.
And
Monday,
I'd like to pick up the mail from July and August. Because I'm going to close out the book and I need all of that to go in there.
I'm gonna get to that next, Mary, I promise you, okay?
Great, good. That's all I had to say.
Okay.
I will be quiet now, Tom.
Okay. Tom, Monday, Tuesday is hard for me, but I'm pretty much free after that, okay?
Okay. You pick the times, Robert, and I'll pick a couple
Okay.
of times and I'll, Mary and I can react to them.
Okay, okay. So, nothing else from Tom? I don't
Yeah,
have-
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay,
While we were gabbing, we got a nice note from Ashley Smith, who felt that she hit the leave button a little too soon, and wanted to thank us again for our interest about AT&T's proposal. She said, "We will keep in mind the concerns and comments that have been made to better navigate the locations and design of future deployments of AT&T facilities. Our office always wants to understand and help alleviate any concerns the community may have with these facilities. We both want AT&T to be able to reach its goals for service in the community, as well as establish a good relationship with the community in attending these meetings, as well as notices that our office tries to find locations that are not visually intrusive to the surrounding area. We appreciate your review of this project. I hope everyone has a happy holiday and a great start to the new year." So I think that's a very positive note, and very much I would look forward to working with Ashley and her crew on finding a better project for Gualala. And in relation to that, I grabbed these off my bookcase just now. Just in case anybody thinks I'm a Luddite, this is a book I wrote about 20 years ago, English, Korean, and Chinese versions. I have a Turkish one floating around here somewhere. It's called Web Rules. And I've been a long and staunch advocate of the importance of vetting internet services and what it can mean to change a community. And I still am. I think we're a little bit behind where I'd like to see Gualala to be. And that's partly because of the profit motivation in the companies coming before us. And I think this note from Ashley shows that she heard us. And what we need to do is work with companies, maybe even reach out to them and say, hey, what can you do for us, designed for our community? Instead of just saying, hey, from their point of view, where can we stick in a tower that I can get paid for siting that? That's shouldn't be the motivation for putting a tower in Gualala. I want to make sure that when we do pick a tower, and we probably will in the future, or smaller antennas, that is really designed for our community with the best possible services in mind. And it's not going to be far off, I can guarantee you, with all this infrastructure money floating around. So that's all I had for my comments tonight.
Will you please send me that letter for the record? And
Ashley's? Yeah,
yes.
she didn't send it to you or to Melissa. I just forwarded it to Melissa, and I will send it to you right now, Mary.
Well, thank you very, very much. And Dawn, if you could also send me the other things that you showed on the internet or on the meeting for the record, so that I can say, see attached, if someone in 5 years wants to look at that. You showed questions and you showed other, another, oh, I know it was your what you received in cell service at different locations on the ridge and downtown.
Oh, you want that as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
Because it was shown at the meeting, and so I would like to have that for the record as an attachment to the minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much. And I think, Tom, did you show something to that effect as well? I don't remember.
I didn't show anything really detailed. I don't think you'll really need mine. I'll send them to you if you like. I have the slides stored, and I can send you the whole PowerPoint presentation. Did you get the motion okay, Melissa's motion?
I have it recorded. My other computer that I type on also went down tonight. So I not only missed some of the meeting, but I've been taking notes rather than typing. And
Okay,
so,
well, if you have a hard time getting it from the recording, Mary, let me know, and Melissa and I can work that out with you.
thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well,
Oh, and just one other thing, we didn't decide who's going to write the note to the county on that. Melissa, do you want to write it? It was your motion.
It was, my motion was simpler. You added more to it. If you'll send me what you added.
Okay, Mary, would you do me a favor and get what you can on that motion and send it to Melissa and me? And then maybe we'll both write a letter to the county.
Yes.
Melissa, you and I can work on that.
I'll type it out tomorrow and send it to you.
Super, thank you. Well, I won't have the recording up by tomorrow, but
I have it.
I'll have it
on
up this
my
weekend.
recording. I was back into the meeting by the time the motion was made.
All right. Well, if you
I
want to,
just
if you want to
some
send
of
us what you got, then we can look at it and make sure it's what we said, and then we'll write a letter.
Very well.
All right.
Good, because I always get stuck at the point, who do I send it to and to whose attention do I send it to?
I'll help you with that. Or Don, do
Well,
you
I
want to
wanna-
do it? It was your project.
I voted against the motion, so I don't think I'm gonna.
You can still report it. It doesn't matter. Okay, we'll do it. We can grab it.
Yeah, okay.
okay. I don't really have a report, although I just would like to say I thank everybody for their thorough participation tonight. I think it was a good meeting, and you know, I look forward to working with you all in the new year and seeing you around here in December. Happy holidays and all that good stuff. Okay. So
Right back at you.
okay, thanks
We
you
have
guys.
any new members?
Same to you guys.
Thanks, you guys. I'll get that letter drafted up and over to you, Kevin, for looking at, okay?
Okay.
Okay, and then I want to leave number 12 up for Melissa. She's made a
Melissa, would
couple-
you like to make a motion for adjournment?
Could I ask a question, please?
Yeah, okay. First,
How are we doing with new members? Kevin has joined us and it's really wonderful. Do we have any other prospective or new members that are coming up in the future, Robert?
Well,
good
I
question.
can give an answer to that.
Okay,
The county clerk has informed me that the Board of Supervisors appointed 3 people. I notified the county clerk that, well, 2 of them aren't here. This was a surprise to him, but he didn't consider that official notification until I wrote to him and said, officially, those other 2 people aren't here.
yeah,
So now there's this awkward bureaucratic thing about the board withdrawing them and appointing new people. And in the meantime, I think we should continue to encourage folks in the community to speak up and get involved. This is a good response tonight we got on the cell tower. And when people realize that these are the kind of things that GMAC is involved with, I think they get more interested. I will always say that we need to spruce up our meetings a little bit because they turn people off, but that's another question. And I think we've done a lot better this year than we did last year.
You're gonna hang lights? Is that what you're gonna do to spruce up?
This would have been a 4-hour meeting last year.
we're very fair to the audience and we let them have their say and let them speak. So, hey, I just thought of something else.
I move that we
Oh.
adjourn the meeting.
Robert
Yeah,
has something.
Wait a minute, I have one more thing, and then we were gonna leave that up to Melissa, weren't we, Don?
Well, she didn't do it. so I'm
Hang
doing it.
on. She likes to make.
I tried, but y'all kept talking. I make a motion that.
That's what I'm saying. Let's stop talking and adjourn. It's time.
Hang on, I'm gonna give Melissa the floor here in a second, but we do have to come up with a January date for our meeting, don't we?
The first Thursday. It's always the first Thursday.
Okay, January what is that? Let me look.
That's the
6th.
Okay,
the
just so
6th.
you all know. Okay. All right, Melissa, you got the floor.
I make a motion that we all go to sleep.
Okay. Meeting adjourned. Who wants to second that?
I'll
Nobody?
second that.
Okay,
And Dawn, probably.
Don seconds that motion. Okay, I'll take the vote. Melissa?
I was so sleepy I couldn't think of the word adjourn.
Okay.
Yes.
Aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Tom?
Hi.
Robert? Aye. Okay,
Happy
thank you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Good we
all.
agreed on something
everybody.
tonight.
See you around, you guys. Thanks. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Happy
everybody.
New
Year.
Night.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year.
All right. You too, Don.
Yeah.
Tom. Bye.